Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod are alongside me, Peter Martin, to take you through the best of football across Great Britain, with of course the emphasis being very much on Scottish football. We'll keep you up to date with the goals as they hit the back of the net in the Premiership, Championship, League 1 and League 2 in Scotland, and also look at the top league in England in detail as well. Yep, delighted to have your company over the next 4 hours. Lots to talk about. We'll be going to the key games in the Premiership and the Championship as well. We've got reporters out there to keep you up to date. No shortage of opinion. You can also interact with us throughout the afternoon at Peter and Roughie on Twitter. We also have facebook.com/Peter and Roughie, and we'll be offering you a chance to interact with us on our polls today on Twitter to get your thoughts on some of the burning issues. Don't forget, you can join us with all that throughout the afternoon here on peterandroughie.com as well. 4 hours of non-stop football chat, and what an afternoon of football we have indeed for you. 5 games in the Premiership in Scotland. Of course, Celtic's involvement in the Europa League in midweek means that their game is at Dingwall on Sunday, Ross County against Celtic. So, Championship games to look forward to. There is indeed a title race going on there between Rangers and Hibernian, and Rangers red hot favourites today at home to bottom placed Alloa in the Championship, and at New St Mirren Park, well, Hibernian, the gap's now 5 points at the top of the Championship, and they know they've got to keep winning to keep the pressure on Rangers. Just a few of the things that we have on offer for you this afternoon. Let's cut to the chase. There's a lot to talk about on the programme this afternoon, and I think everyone has been debating ad nauseum, Roughie, the Celtic situation, the fallout from the European game. Suddenly we have a situation where you are judging a manager on 2 fronts. Should he stay as Celtic manager based on European results, or should he be allowed time to build based on the domestic performances?
Well, I think the 2 most important people are the owners of the club and the fans. I was very aware after the game in midweek there, the fans aren't particularly happy. They want to be in the high end Champions League football, and that's not going to be the case. It doesn't look as if it's going to improve next year either, but I think it's up to the owners. It's up to what their remit is for Ronnie Delia, and he'll know exactly. They'll sit down at the beginning of the season, he'll have targets to hit, and if one of them is to be in the final stages of at least the Europa Cup, then he's got questions to answer.
Ronnie Deila was speaking yesterday. The Celtic boss says he needs more time.
You know, they have had a manager before here who has struggled in Europe in the beginning, but make it right, and I stand by the manager, and that's what I expect with me as well.
Should he be given more time, Murdo MacLeod?
Well, it's strange. I don't think you can compare other managers. It's his job just now. He's a Celtic manager. Just now, I think it's going to be very difficult if he goes on a good run of the team domestically, going and win the title, going and win the League Cup, possibly even the treble, which doesn't happen very often within any league, never mind just here in Scotland. So I think if he does that, I think he'll get another start next season. But he's got to start looking. Celtic's got to play 2 different styles. He keeps on moaning about there's not enough quality to play against them week in, week out here in Scotland. But he moans about it so often, but what we've got to look at, he's got to change his system. Because if you're playing against sides of a certain standard, you play the offensive type, the 4-2-3-1 is wonderful form just now, he's winning most of his games. He goes away from home in European football, and he has more of the ball than the opposition team 2 weeks ago, and ends up getting beat 3-1. So there's something lacking at the back, the shape of the side. If he wants to change the formation at the back, the defenders are getting so much stick just now because of giving away slack goals. But the players themselves, I don't think they've bought into what's happening just now. I felt in the second half the players gave up. They didn't think they're going on to win a game. Even when they went down to 10 men, normally Celtic Park and a European night's a special night. The fans keep them going, everybody's in about it. I was just watching the game and they were knocking the ball about at walking pace across the pitch, keep possession. Molde were sitting in there with their cigars out saying, they're not putting us under any pressure. Molde looked as if they could go and get another goal. And that's where Celtic's got to look at. If you're playing at Celtic Park, you've got to at least have a go.
I get the feeling, Gordon Smith, that Celtic fans are running out of patience with him, and I don't think that we will see, the period of time that maybe Murdo's suggesting. I think, they're starting to round on him now, and you've got 2 games in Europe where I don't see Celtic winning them.
I think they will round on him, and they are to a certain extent. And I think what's happened is that I felt that definitely the board were giving him the 3 games in Europe. Ronnie Dyler was speaking very positively, as if to say we're going to win the 2 home games anyway, and then it'll be down to the 3rd game. That's a bad result, losing that first game at home to Molde, a team 6th in the Norwegian League. So I think now he's under pressure. He's already talking about they can still do it, which is the case. 2 wins, which would be difficult, because I thought of the 3 games they've got left, Molde was the easiest of the 3 in my opinion. But they've lost that now, and I do believe that even if they get out of Europe now, he has to then continue in a strong vein in the domestic scene. As Murdo says, he has to head for the treble, and only then I think that the board will say we're giving him his chance, he's building for next year, and I think they'll look closely at it and see if he really is building his team, if he's getting more out of them, and that relates directly to the back 4, which has been a shambles in recent games, especially in Europe. So I think he has to let people see that he is actually turning things around.
Briefly, Roughie, to the end of the season, or maybe game by game?
I think we're there to the end of the season, but obviously the guys are talking about trebles. If it was just going to be the league, no, you'd have to think about it.
Yeah. Okay, the 3 guys here with me, best in the business: Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo McLeod. We've got a poll for you. We'll give you details of that after the break. We'll also then go round the grounds in the Premiership, Championship, League 1 and League 2, and we will also look down south at the Barclays Premier League. It's all to come on the Saturday Football Show. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod are here with me, Peter Martin, and I think it's fair to say we like to mix it up from time to time. Sometimes we've got a world-class goalkeeper in there who's got 3 World Cups behind him. We've got a man who could score in midfield, and then we usually have McAvenny who can, score inside the penalty box. But today we've got the no-nonsense of somebody that if Gordon Smith gets out of hand, then he'll be smashed. It's as simple as that. Murdo won't stand any of his nonsense. That's why he's here. And that's our panel for a Saturday afternoon.
I've got my shin guards on. Right?
Yeah, well, you'll need your shin guards as well. But what we've got to talk about over the course of the afternoon are goals. And they'll be flying in right across all the divisions. So stick with us here. We've got a poll coming up for you. We've been talking about Celtic. We'll also be discussing Rangers. They've got a match at home to Alloa today in the Championship. Let's not forget also there's, I dare to say, the New Firm Derby. We used to get excited about that in the 80s. It's Aberdeen against a Dundee United side really struggling for form and out of the League Cup, knocked out by Hibs in midweek. We'll bring you the teams from there as well. And what about second placed Hearts? Let's not forget the Jambos. Robbie Nielsen says we need to be more positive about Scottish football. We'll head to Tynecastle now because Craig Turnbull, our reporter, is there.
Yes, and there's certainly positive news off the park for Hearts as this week they reduced the club's deficit to just 1.5 million, and they hope they can reduce the deficit on Celtic today with 3 points against the Accies. The Jambos have put together a run of 5 games in the league unbeaten, which is in small part down to Robbie Nielsen's strict training regime, which Danny Swanson has described as a boot camp. Accies boss Canning will want to rally his troops after that 4-2 defeat to St Johnstone last week. They beat Hearts earlier this season after a controversial red card given to Callum Patterson, but they haven't won here at Tynecastle in 40 years. It has all the makings of a cracker today. It's Hearts versus Accies.
You see, you get those little nuggets from Craig, and the reaction on your face, Murdo, was priceless. They haven't won in 40 years, and I can't believe, in fact, I'm delighted now to suggest that we have. Well done. Look at Gordon Smith's face, because he's picked Hearts in the treble that we have for you this afternoon. Whether we eventually break our duck and win any money is open for debate. But give me your thoughts on what Robbie Nielsen mentioned, Murdo, because he says there's a need for all of us to be more positive about Scottish football, but is there a difference between positivity and the reality?
I think there is. When you look at it, and everybody wants to be positive. We love when the Scottish team, the national team wins a game. We love our teams going into European football when they win the games. Everybody's in a high. But there's not a lot to shout about just now. No, but we've been knocked out the European Championships. We're looking at our teams in Europe. Celtic struggling in Europe, and that's usually the team that's going to give every club in Scotland a lift. Over all the years, Celtic, when they were going in the Champions League, the Celtic Park jam-packed, 60,000 people there. Now you're looking at it now, and it's half full, and the other sides aren't even in European football. So there's not an awful lot to be chirpy about. You watch the games, you watch the amount of people that's turning up to the games, and you try to be positive. You know, when you're at a game and you're saying, "Oh, the game's great," and you know it's not great, but you know you've got to try and keep it going. And just now, we've got to make sure Robbie's in a different camp than just about every other club just now, because Robbie's came from the lower league, nearly out of existence as a football club, and they've fought their way back. The supporters have got together, the club's got together with the supporters, the team's got together with everyone, and it's a fantastic football club just now. They've changed the training regime. They're training 3 times a day, they're early morning, they're lunchtime, they're late in the afternoon. Other clubs now got to look at Hearts and say, we're going to go down that line now. A lot of the players wouldn't like what I'm saying, but if that's going to bring success to a football club, then you've got to do it. You've got to change. You've got to copy Hearts. Yeah,
and I think that's a good point that Murdo makes, Gordon. Quite simply, we can look at the bigger picture, but for the world of Hearts fans, I'm not suggesting for a minute there'll be 16,000 there today, but more often than not, there are 16,000 fans at Tynecastle cheering on a side that suddenly have overtaken Aberdeen and are now the second force.
Exactly. They've done a great job. I mean, it's just in 2 years, well, not a year and a half, but basically he's got it going. I mean, to a certain degree, Gary Locke got it going as well, because he had to bring through a lot of young players, because that's what they're struggling with. He did a great job, considering the fact that they were down by 20 points, and it was very difficult to catch up. but he developed a lot of those players, and Robbie Nielsen's then added to it, and I think he's got the team going very, very well. But I think that we don't want to be too negative. There are certain aspects of Scottish football just now which are on a low, and Murdo's mentioned it, and we all know at international level we're best ever chance of getting to a final of a tournament, and we've failed. 24 teams are going to be in the final this next year, and we're not there. And then you look at the international, the European football. Most of our teams, apart from Celtic, are going out in the early rounds now. We're going out in the playoff rounds, and that's a tough thing to accept, because in years gone by, we had teams in finals, we had teams having runs. Well, we've had Aberdeen winning a trophy, we've had Dundee United in a semi-final, European Cup. Kilmarnock once got to a semi-final. So you're looking at a situation like that and we think it is low, but there are also positives, and I think what's happening in Scottish football now is a lot of young players have been developed and are coming through the system, and I think we've had more good young players at the moment in Scottish football than we've had for a while.
Yeah, okay, we'll get Roughie's thoughts on that. We'll be giving you a poll very shortly as well. We have talked about Hearts going into second place. Whether they're the second course or not is also open to debate. Aberdeen are just behind them in third place. They're starting 11 for today's game against Dundee United is Ward, Logan, Shinnie, Taylor, Reynolds, McLean, Flood, Rooney, Hayes, Pollitt and Jack. Ryan Jack has already said that there's no in-house squabbling between the players, and over and above that, Derek McInnes, the Dons manager, has said that his players and the team have not let anyone down. Well, have they, Roughie?
No, I don't think they have. You know, I think it's the really exciting start they had to the season. Got everybody taking notice of them, and the run that they had on was fantastic. The crowds were up at 16,000, 17,000. Everything was going well. I think as far as Derek McInnes is concerned, is how does he stop the rot? You know, that is it. You know, when you're playing so well and you've got, it's really the same players. You know, and you would have to say that's near enough their best 11 today. It was nearly their best 11 when they had Motherwell. Motherwell scored late on, so he really needs to get back onto winning ways. There's no doubt about that. But he's got the players there to do it.
And it was amazing how it all turned round, wasn't it? I mean, it was basically the Hibs game in the cup. There was the first defeat. I think they'd been winning up to the end, then they lose at Hibs, and you're thinking, is it a case they just went up for a game because it was a cup tie and they're concentrating the league? But then since then, I mean, and that's in 6 games now, 5 defeats and a draw.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
incredible.
poor. That's a poor record for a team that was winning every game.
But I think you look back, Peter, and some of the games we've had, or some of the teams over the years, I don't recall a side going so well like Aberdeen, a big side like that. Because I've seen a lot of the smaller clubs going up and gone great runs, and you're saying that's fantastic. They're in the top 6. Normally that they're struggling maybe against relegation. But Aberdeen are traditionally a side that's in the top 2 or 3 all the time. And you watch them this season, and even last season, they've been a strong side, hard to beat, well organised, scores goals, they score goals. This season, great start, and then all of a sudden, just hit the wall. And I'm looking at it and thinking, what's happened? You know, the players are coming out and they're talking about it. There's no problem in the dressing room. The manager's saying there's no problems with him and the players, all this kind of thing. And you're thinking, well, what's gone wrong? Because you can't just be a top football team and then all of a sudden get, 1 point out of 6 games?
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible.
Well, if ever they need a chance to bounce back, and I hate to say this for any Dundee United fans watching it, it's the perfect time. It's Dundee United. Dundee United's team: Jromnik in goal, Dylan, McGowan, Durnan, Dixon, Suter, Rankin, Spittle, Fraser, Mackay and Taggart. That's the starting 11 for Mixu Patalainen. He's watched his side being knocked out of the League Cup by Hibernian, who are now into the semi-finals, and I think Mixu's been reading the riot act and letting every player know exactly what United are facing this season. We'll be looking at all the fixtures shortly, but we're going to Fir Park now because Motherwell, well, 4 points out of 6. It's absolutely incredible. The revival now under Mark McGee. Stephen Pearson has mentioned in midweek that the confidence is sky high. Well, Gordon Parks is there at Fir Park to review their preview their game today.
They stabilised things, 4 points from 6. It's definitely a turnaround in fortune for them. The players have just taken the pitch. There's a sense around here just now that things are starting to kick on. Dismal start which cost the previous manager his job, but I think Mark, he knows the place well. He stopped the players getting days off. It seems to have worked, and there's definitely a sense here that things can move on.
Yeah, that's a thing I know, Gordon, from your playing days. If the manager had stopped you getting days off, there would have been mutiny on the bounty.
It would have been a criminal offence. I don't think it would have lasted as long as I actually did.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to Gordon's report from Motherwell there today at Fir Park. Can they get the result against Inverness Cally Thistle? And of course, Cally Thistle, Partsy, haven't really been playing the way that they were last season when they had that high finish in the league or their cup exploits.
The wheels have come off the bogey a bit for John Hughes. I know that his recent record to Motherwell has been dismal. They've only got 2 wins in the last 15 visits, and I think that kind of stat indicates the recent problems that Inverness have when they travel. Their recent form on the road only racks up 1 win so far this season. That was against their neighbours Ross County. So, you know, there's 2 things can happen today. Mark McGee's still looking for his first home win, so he'll be looking to get that. But John Hughes has to get his players believing that they can win when they're on the road.
Okay, thanks to Gordon Parts. We'll be back there for Motherwell against Inverness, Caledonian Thistle as well. There's also St Johnstone against Kilmarnock. St Johnstone's side just coming out: Alan Mannis, Dave Mackay, Tam Scobie, Stephen Anderson, Murray Davidson, Stephen McLean, Graham Cummins, Darnell Fisher, Brian Easton, Liam Craig, and the man that everybody's talking about, Michael O'Halloran. And interestingly enough, Murdo, in the changing world of football, suddenly Stephen McLean's back in because he's playing on grass.
It's a strange one, isn't it, getting left out? And because I always thought years and years ago when we first started going on to the AstroTurf pitches, they were rock solid and it was fairly dangerous when you get wet. Your players were slipping and hitting their heads off the ground, and it was solid. But nowadays the quality of the pitch is top class, and a lot of times you go out there and you enjoy it, and I'm surprised that a football player can't go on and playing that new surface.
Yeah, they're playing against Kilmarnock, and of course Kilmarnock are one of the clubs who've invested heavily in that artificial surface there. Starting 11 for the game at McDermott Park: Jamie McDonald in goal, Stephen Smith, Stuart Finlay, Rory McKenzie's the captain, Callum Higginbotham, Mark O'Hara, Craig Slater, Kevin McHattie, Greg Kiltie, Conrad Ballatoni, and if we're talking about players that everyone talks about in particular teams, Josh McGuinness with the start up front again as the striker. So that's the teams in the Premiership for St Johnstone against Kilmarnock. We'll look ahead to Ross County against Celtic tomorrow and the implications of that, because Jim McIntyre has already mentioned that he feels as if Celtic are there for the taking if County can get the first goal. And on the back of that European disappointment, there seems to be certainly a difference of opinion, maybe a split in the camp among Celtic supporters about Ronnie Dyla's future. So here's the tweet, here's the poll we're running this afternoon, one of 2 that you can get involved in there. It's there: should Ronnie Dyla be given more time to turn things around at Celtic? Should he be given the same time as previous Celtic managers? Yes or no? And 54% at the moment have said yes to our poll, so you can give us your view on that. Will that change throughout the afternoon? At Peter and Roughie, get on there and we will react to the poll from Celtic fans. There may well be a few rogue fans offering their opinion on it, but that's the way of the world these days. You only have to look at the elections for various parties.
Yeah, the Mulder fans are saying keep them on.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll try our best to give you a fair representation of what that poll has revealed to us. Into the Championship, Ibrox Park. I think this could be the one situation, Gordon Smith, where the bookies have never had such a red-hot favourite as Rangers against Alloa.
Yeah, it was incredible. I was hearing that it's the odds. I mean, somebody said it was 16 to 1 on Rangers were, and Murdo was saying that on his head it's even more than that now, even bigger odds. You know, so you can't believe that, because I mean, Rangers' last 2 games, I think they had Ibrox against Alloa. It was both draws. Albeit the one earlier in the season, they already played Alloa away and won 5-1. And I do believe they will win today. I don't think there's any problem for Rangers at all. But it's amazing when you think that they said there's no other games in Europe that have got win odds like Rangers being at home today. Yeah,
you see, that's the kind of punditry that just is at the cutting edge. There's no chance that Rangers will slip up today, says Gordon Smith. There he really stuck his neck out there for us. Let's go to Ibrox. Derek Clark is watching Rangers against Alloa.
Yeah, after the re-emergence of all the off-field shenanigans, including a protest taking place, an anti-Mike Ashley protest taking place outside the Superstore, it's back to on-field matters this afternoon. Rangers will be hoping to get back to winning ways after their first league defeat of the season last weekend. Mark Warburton was quoted in midweek saying that he's hoping to send out a statement here today, so he'll be eager not only to get 3 points but to win by a handsome margin. Team-wise, 2 changes from the side that lost to Hibs on Sunday. Out goes Nicky Clark and Danny Wilson. In the place Nathan Odua and Gideon Zelalem, so they revert back to the 4-3-3 formation. For Alloa, they come into the game marooned at the bottom of the Championship, 5 points adrift, and they've won just once this season. Daniel Lennon was quoted in midweek by saying it'll be a David v Goliath-esque contest, so that gives you a sense of the size of the task awaiting the Wasps today. In saying that, I know you boys like a good stat. I read this week that Alloa are unbeaten in the league at Ibrox since 1923. I've a funny feeling that looks set to end here this afternoon. It's top versus bottom. It's Rangers against Alloa.
That's what I call Derek Clark putting even a modicum of positive spin for Alloa fans who are heading there. I mean, if they're not looking through their fingers for the 90 minutes, I'll be gobsmacked. Just on the side issue of that, of course, Rangers have to try and bounce back from the defeat to Hibernian. Here's what Mark Warburton had to say about that this week.
It's important that you learn from every game. We can't say that and then not act on it. So from our point of view, we have to be better. Every day we have to be better. So the first meeting we had was how can we be better? What can we work on? What can we improve upon? And we've done it. So as a group, we're moving forward, hopefully, and we're determined to move forward from last week and to hopefully send out a statement on Saturday.
OK, they lost to Hibs. They're still 5 points clear. The onus is on Hibs to try and maintain the form that Rangers have displayed since the start of the season.
Well, Hibs, to keep in touch with Rangers, they've got to just keep on winning all the games. They can't afford a slip-up, because I imagine Rangers now, listen to the manager talking there about, let's look at where we went wrong, let's work on it. And if they've been working hard and he's happy with the progress, then they'll go on another run. And if they keep on getting 11 victories in a row, 10 in a row, and then losing one game and then continuing with that, they'll run away with the league. And that's where Hibs will be tested, because Rangers, we know they've been up for it the first quarter of the season, they've been top class, and now they've had one defeat. So Hibs have got to go on in the same kind of run just to keep in touch with them. But they've still got to go to Ibrox the next time and get all 3 points there, and then that could change the whole balance.
And this is possibly the first time, guys, that we have suddenly taken our eye off what Rangers are doing on the park, because some of the old wounds seem to have been opened up this week. Again, the decision in the courts that HMRC have won their appeal with regards to the EBT case. It has no implications, I think, for the present day Rangers. Obviously, the undercurrent of this is there seems to be a huge groundswell of opinion from fans out with Rangers that they want Rangers to be stripped of titles. But there's a long way to go in this battle, Gordon Smith. Yeah. I would suggest to you right now that we're still waiting, and I think it's at the start of December, the first week, where there is a decision to be made on whether Rangers will appeal the EBT case, and that goes to a Supreme Court. So there's a long way to go in this battle yet.
I think it would be Murray International who set up the EBT scheme and they put the people into it. It wasn't just players, obviously it was other members of staff as well. They are the ones that have the opportunity to appeal. So that's the thing about it. That's why the SPL can't really make a decision, because the case went twice Rangers' way. And it was proved, judges said that Rangers were not guilty of anything, and then this time the appeal, the HMRC have won this one. So if there's another appeal goes in, it goes back again to court. And you say we won't know till December, so it's very difficult for the SPL to make a decision on it. But what I would say to you is that there's bound to be this from supporters of other teams. Yeah. I mean, there's a big dislike for Rangers with a lot of supporters of other teams, and they're going to be saying, "Oh, strip them of the titles." They want that immediately. This is a great opportunity for they'll think to see that they can say it was unfair sporting activity. So a sporting advantage for Rangers and all that. So there will be a big, I would think, a force from supporters to try and even get their own club to speak in their favour. So I don't know where it's going to go. I knew that was going to come. Yeah.
The one thing I would say on this, Roughie, much the same as the situation where a lot of managers and players and chairmen were speaking out about whether Rangers in their old state going into a new company should have been allowed to start in the third division or just go straight into the top division again. The one thing that changed the course of that was the fans, because they made it clear to chairmen up and down the country, chief executives, that they wanted the SPFL to follow protocol, to follow the rules, and put them back in the third division if indeed they were going to be admitted as a member of the league clubs. I think there is a similar campaign that started in the last 24 to 48 hours, Roughie, which will gather a huge amount of momentum.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and Gordon's touched on it, that other supporters will want something to be seen to be done. You know, I mean, it's good reading. I think Gordon said the other day there that if the 4 titles were overturned, that would be Celtic got 10 in a row. You know, so
if Celtic get them,
if it was to be overturned, that would why you would see some supporters looking at that and going, well, that sounds really good. Let's try and force this.
Yeah.
But nothing was.
But Alan, but Celtic fans wouldn't want that turn around and say, well, we've broken that magical 9 in a row, we've got 10 in a row through default.
I'm sure some of them might
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think they would see it as default.
The thing about it, Peter, is nothing would surprise me. Gordon's already touched on it. There were 3 very prominent judges who voted in favour of Rangers, and then another 3 haven't. Nothing would surprise me if it goes to a higher court. You know which way that's going to go.
Yeah,
you know, because you know what the law is. It depends who's sitting on that case, how they interpret, you know, what has happened.
Yeah. And there was also a judge, one of them, the last SPL meeting, the Rangers were pulled up for. Obviously the fact was that there was a contract situation, and that was what the SPL were looking at, and the judge there,
Lord Nimmo Smith.
Lord Nimmo Smith said there wasn't any sporting advantage, so he made a clear statement and said there was no sporting advantage there. So that's why they would have to go back on that and have to bring in someone else to look at that.
They would only look at that, Gordon, on the basis that this interpretation from the current judgment has said that there would have been maybe a situation where players may not have decided to join Rangers, you know, on the basis that they were not getting these bonuses or monies paid without having to pay tax on it. They may well have looked elsewhere to offer their services as professional footballers. I don't think, and again, I don't think any of us, and I'm not in any way being derogatory towards any of you, I don't think we can possibly nail down how, as Roughie mentioned, you know, a judge at a higher level will interpret this. There's certainly greater minds than what we have here collectively can offer that in the final assessment of whether the EBTs are deemed to be, you know, tax avoidance. And I think at the end of it, Murdo, players and managers, Martin O'Neill's already come out, John Hartson, you know, numerous players have said, you know, Rangers won fair and square on the park, but that's not the issue. I think the issue here, and it's not just Celtic fans, is other clubs are looking and saying we were disadvantaged. Forget titles. Some would feel they think they were disadvantaged and maybe being relegated or losing out in a cup final that they played against Rangers. It's one of those ones where you and I might not care about that aspect of it. We want to see Scottish football flourish again, but this is the crux of the matter, which is driving fans to keep this going.
Well, that's the thing, but all fans can join in, but you'll never, ever know if it's been an advantage to Rangers. Because Rangers at the time were obviously, even through the 90s, were paying an awful lot more than even the top English clubs. So players were desperate to come up to play for Rangers, and I think when they were coming up and they were going to get more money than anywhere else in the UK, and they were getting a bonus on top, money getting paid offshore, all these kind of things. So all these boys are thinking, this is fantastic. We're not just being the top players, we're even getting extra money. And I don't think, I go back and I'm in the camp with Martin O'Neill and the others. Once the guys are on the pitch, that's the team you've got to beat. Because I don't know, this is highlighted against Rangers just now, but I'm sure, and I've played in games that I possibly didn't know about against players that's getting money paid by cash or whatever. You've played in European games, you've maybe these teams played and they were getting paid by cash. You would never know. So you don't know whether they were getting an unfair advantage against us, but you just got on with it. You just had to go out and play the game, play the team you had to play against, and if you beat them, great.
Okay, and that is one of our other polls today. If indeed the EBT law that says that Rangers are guilty of tax avoidance with this scheme, should Rangers be stripped of titles? It's 67% at the moment saying yes in this current poll. At Peter and Roughie, you can give us your view on that. We certainly will give you the answer throughout the afternoon. It might change, it might fluctuate. By the time we get to about 10 to 6, we may well have a definitive on the people that have decided to vote on Twitter. But there's a long way to go before even the SPFL or indeed anybody else passes judgment on this situation. This is another round. This time it's been won by HMRC. On the park today, Mark Warburton's side will try and win against Alloa and make sure that they are out in front against a Hibernian side that are at New St Mirren Park today. And St Mirren's side, Langfield, Kelly, Webster, Goodwin, McMullen, Thompson, Mallon, Baird, Agnew, Gallagher and Stewart. And yet again, Roughie, we've had another statement from Alec Miller saying that he's not there to take Ian Murray's job. Suddenly, this story's just going on and on.
Yeah, well, I think he would say that. You know, he's been brought in there, and I think Ian Murray's actually said they've had a debate round the table. If he had a choice of who he was going to bring in, Alec Miller would be that choice. But I don't think I'm sitting here for a minute. If that job becomes available, Alec Miller will say no to it. And I think it just puts pressure on a younger manager with somebody with that much experience looking over the top of him.
Yeah, the problem with it is, I think to a certain degree, is if it turns around, Peter, supposing they start to play well now, the board are going to look at that and going, that's Alec Miller that's turned that around, isn't it, aren't they? You know, that's what's Ian Murray's under pressure with that appointment.
Yeah, absolutely. You're on a double-edged sword on this one. Hibs starting lineup for the game: Oxley, Gray, McGregor, Hanlon, Stevenson, 5-8, McGinn, Henderson, Keatings, Malonga and Cummings. Suddenly that Hibs side has a familiar look about it. We'll get a former Hibs midfielder's thoughts on the high bees. Murdo McLeod is here. We'll get his thoughts on whether Alan Stubbs' side can indeed maintain that challenge. Lots of football ahead here on the Football Show. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday football show. Throughout the afternoon, if there's a goal anywhere across all 4 divisions in Scotland and in the Barclays Premier League in England, we'll keep you right up to date with it. We are off to Ibrox Park. It's Rangers against Alloa with the team news. Derek Clark.
Yeah, 2 changes for Rangers from the side that lost to Hibs last Sunday. So out goes Wilson and Clark, who dropped to the bench. In their place comes Nathan Odua and Gideon Zelalem. So it's back to a 4-3-3 formation for Mark Warburton's men. Foderingham in goals, back 4 of Tavernier, Kiernan, Ball and Wallace. In front of them Holt, Halliday and Zelalem. And a front 3 pairing of Odua, Waghorn and Mackay. On the bench for Rangers this afternoon, Kelly, Clark, Aird, Shields, Wilson, Thompson and Ross Lyon. Alloa make 1 enforced change for the visit to Ibrox. Out goes Robbie Crawford, obviously he's ineligible, and in comes Kyle McCausland to line up in what looks like a 4-1-4-1 formation. McNeil in goals, McCausland, Rintam, Marr and Hamilton at the back 4. Holmes is holding, Doyle, McManus, O'Brien and Ferns in front of him, and Michael Chopra up front on his own. On the bench for the Wasps this afternoon, Crawford, Hogan, Williams, Hill, Duffy, Pond and Hellerington. The referee for this one, Stephen Finney.
1 win in 13 games for Alloa.
Yeah.
It'll be an onslaught that we expect from Rangers today. And again, Mark Warburton's talking about the accounts that were released. They've lost £7.5 million. They're looking for a £2.5 million injection to take them to the end of the season. Gordon Smith, the manager, clearly will be in constant contact with the board, with the Dave King plans, and he seems fairly confident that he can get to the January transfer window and maybe add 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, they seem as if that way, but they do have to take care of their finances, because one of the problems, major problems Rangers have had over the years in recent seasons, because all the trouble came about, was because they just weren't running the club on a proper financial basis. And I think that's come home, and you would have thought the people who've gone in there now would be certainly doing that and making sure that the club, albeit they're building a team to get up to the Premiership and play at the highest level, but you've also got to run it in a proper manner. I mean, they've got a lot of season ticket holders. There's obviously a problem just now with the commercial side of the club. That's why there's a protest at Ibrox today against Mike Ashley. But these are just factors, and there's other ways that Rangers can raise money. And one of the things they need to do is maybe go down a route like Celtic to a degree, which is be able to actually develop players and sell them on and make money as well. That's something they haven't been doing, Rangers, really, for quite some time. So there's a whole load of factors there, but they seem as if the way they're speaking, even at board level, they're saying that although there's money required to come in, that money will be made available. The people who are running the club, Dave King and others, have got the finances in order to do that.
So Rangers against Alloa. We have a look at the teams also in the Premiership. In some of the games we have reporters at. One of them is at Fir Park. Motherwell against Inverness Caledonian Thistle, and Gordon Parks is there for us.
Motherwell boss Mark McGee is looking for his first win in his second term in charge at home here, and he's lining up a 4-4-2. He's got Conor Ripley in goal, Josh Law at right back, Kieran Kennedy, Stephen McManus will make the centre defensive pairing, Joe Chalmers at left back. Lionel Ainsworth starts on the right of a midfield, which includes Liam Grimshaw, Stephen Pearson, who passed a fitness test from a knee problem earlier today. Marvin Johnson starts on the left, a front pairing of Scott McDonald and Lewis Malt, who comes in for Theo Robinson, and the only change from a line-up which beat Kilmarnock last weekend. Inverness have got to cure their own travel problems. They've been really, really poor in Lanarkshire. Trips here before have only brought 2 wins out of their last 15. Now, John Hughes starts with Owen Way and Fawn Williams in goals. Lewis Horner comes in for David Raven at right back, Danny Devine, Josh Meakin play at centre half, Carl DeMarco left back, on the right Liam Polworth, Greg Tansdale hold in a midfield which also includes James Vincent, Ian Vigers, and up front it will be Mel Story coming in for Danny Williams. Ryan Christie starts alongside him, and the referee for today's game is Craig Thompson.
Just Partsies luck. Murdoy starts to give us the teams when the public announcer wants to try and drown him out completely. But
I was listening to Parks and then he thought, I'll just put the music on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was interesting what he was saying before about the days off and all that sort of thing. In British football, you always get used to days off. Generally, a Wednesday was a day off. I don't know what you were like when you went abroad. When I went to play in Switzerland, it was we never got a day off.
Yeah.
Never. Was you the same in Germany? Did you get days off in Germany?
No. But what in Scotland, if the manager said to you after a game on a Saturday, you're all in tomorrow, you all thought, oh, what have we done wrong?
Yeah.
Whereas abroad, everyone came in on the Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You just came in and you just went out for a wee jog, and you maybe got a stretch, and you played 5v2 in a box or something.
Yeah.
Anything at all, just to stretch
There
your
was never
legs.
a day off.
But here in
the
Scotland, was it always a punishment when you come in on a Sunday?
Well, that's
If you
definitely.
get beaten, you were liable to come in on a Sunday.
Yeah.
We used to, as I say, we used to come in, and what we did on a Sunday was the day after a game, we'd do a full warm up as if we're preparing for a game, and as soon as we got to a state where you would normally go to play, we then did a warm down. And that was us finished. But they never got a day off. And we were in maybe 3 afternoons a week as well. 5 mornings, 3 afternoons a week. So the people get it easy in this country for the footballers. They really do.
It's amazing how different it is. If we hadn't been in Jack and Ellie's by 12:30 with bacon roll,
You were raging.
Yeah, right.
Just on that point, briefly, Roughie, before we head to the break and get ready and closer to kick-off, we will be going to Tynecastle shortly. Mark McGee, again, on the basis that teams are coming in, players are coming in, they're doing extra sessions. You know, what a transformation. 2 games, albeit.
yeah, and we've all saw it before. When you're a new manager coming in, you get a reaction for the players that are there, particularly Motherwell players who have had a terrible season last year, and they need a change. So, yeah, I think anything new coming in, it doesn't matter if it's a new manager. Players like to impress.
Absolutely. Can they impress today for Motherwell against Inverness Caledonian Thistle? We'll discuss their fortunes. We'll also look towards that championship battle between Rangers and Hibernian. We'll talk about Aberdeen, Dundee United, and we'll look to Ross County Celtic tomorrow as well. All coming up on the programme. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod are our panellists this afternoon to take you throughout the afternoon with the goals flying in across the country. We will certainly keep you up to date with all the action. We've got reporters at key games as well. Dundee are in action this afternoon against Partick Thistle, and don't think we've forgotten about you. Bain, Holt, Conrad, Stewart, Lowe, Loy, Ross, McGowan, McGinn, Healy and Gadzaloff are the starting 11 for Dundee, and they take on a Partick Thistle side. And as I look, Gallagher, Steeborn, Welsh, Booth, Osman, Amu, Bannigan, Doolan, Lawless, Dumbuya, Lindsay are the starting 11 for Thistle. Gallagher comes in, 36 years of age, and you know, the manager Alan Archibald has been singing his praises. We're lucky to have him, he said this week.
Yeah, but I was surprised he never played him last week. He threw the young boy in, didn't go particularly well for him, and he has been a big player for them. You know, he's very good at saving penalties, very good at saving crucial moments of the game, and I think they'll need him today because some of the goals they shed last week were shocking, and Dundee will have watched that obviously and tried to work on it. I just think it's back four, you know, all over the place. And again today, you know, they would have been my team in our fixed odds coupon, but somebody talked me out of it. So let's hope that it goes all right today.
Would you mean Dundee or Partick? We're going to be, who is it?
Yes, it
Dundee?
Was one of these two. I'm not
and of course, you'd never really want Roughie to be a key witness for you because he folds fairly easily, to be honest with you. Let's go to Tynecastle. Hearts are against Hamilton Accies, and Craig Turnbull has the teams.
Yeah, two changes from Hearts from that 4-0 victory over Partick Thistle. Augustine returns from suspension and Gomez gets a start in midfield, so out go Oshniwa and Danny Swanson drops to the bench. So they line up with Alexander in goal, a back four of Patterson, Augustine, Rossi and McGee. In midfield, So, Blabin, Gomez, Nicholson and Dejoum, with Wanma up front. For the visitors today, they make 5 changes from that 4-2 defeat to St Johnstone last week. Lucas and McKinnon return from suspension. There's also a start for Turner in midfield with Doherty and Morris also in the starting 11. Out goes player manager Martin Canning, Gillespie, Longledge, Crawford and Nadi. So they go with McGovern in goal, a back four of Gordon, Garcia Tena, Lucas and Kurakins, Turner, Emery, McKinnon, Doherty and Kurtaj in midfield with Morris up front. And the referee for today's game is Bobby Madden, and Gordon Strachan, the Scotland boss, and Michael O'Neill, the Northern Ireland boss, are here watching the game too. So let's hope it's a good one here at Tynecastle.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 5 changes, that's radical.
Very much so, yeah. I mean, especially when Crawford being one of them is a bit of a surprise when you consider how well he's been doing this season. I know he got injured 2 or 3 weeks ago, didn't he? And he's recovered from that, but I think you know that he maybe just trying to, Martin Canning, he's left himself out as well, just wants to try and get a little change going, get his team going, because they haven't won. I mean, the last 4 matches is 2 defeats and 2 draws, so they haven't won for a little while when the steam as if they're going to get back to running well. And this is a tough game. I think maybe he's gone there today, basically maybe going to keep it tight.
Yep. Here are the fixtures for the Premier League for this afternoon. If you are looking towards your coupon, Aberdeen against Dundee United up there at Pittodrie, Dundee against Partick Thistle, Hearts Hamilton, Motherwell against Inverness, Caledonian Thistle and St Johnstone against Kilmarnock. We will look ahead to Ross County against Celtic on the Sunday. What about the Championship? We are now fully aware of that Rangers team against Alloa, and here's how they shape up in today's fixtures. Morton, Livingston, Queen of the South against Dumbarton, Wraith Rovers against Falkirk, 4th against 3rd. We'll talk about that match as well very shortly. St Mirren against Hibernian. We've given you the teams there. Let's go to League One, and here's how it looks in League One. Albion Rovers against Cowdenbeath, Brecon City against top of the table Ayr United, who are going really well, Dunfermline against Peterhead, Forfar Airdrie and Stranraer against Stenhousemuir. And League Two's fixtures for this afternoon are Broth against East Fife, Berwick Rangers against Stirling Albion, Clyde against Montrose, East Stirling against Queen's Park, and Elgin City against the league leaders Annan Athletic, who at this moment are just starting to open up a gap, which I'm sure will delight their manager Jim Chapman. What about the Barclays Premier League? Well, there's one match that's actually finished. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 1. Despite all the dominance, Eddie Howe's side couldn't get the win. Steve McLaren's team get a crucial 3 points, which moves them to 5th bottom of the table. It's Leicester against Watford today, Manchester United, West Brom, Norwich, Swansea, Sunderland, Southampton, West Ham against Everton, and Stoke against Chelsea is the 5:30 kickoff. We're getting ever closer here. 2 minutes to go until kickoff around the country. If there's a goal, we'll update you with it. We'll get the opinions of our panellists as well. Here's the match predictor. Head to head, Roughie so far out in front, even Murdo MacLeod is laughing heartily, totally unaware that Roughie has been this far out in front before, and I've pegged them back for the last 2 seasons. So there we are, Roughie. Can you explain the madness of your selections today?
Well, I think Aberdeen, tide's got to turn sometime. I think Dundee United, it was proved that although Mix got a wee bit of reaction, he got nothing at Easter Road. I don't think they'll recover from that one. I've already said Partick Thistle, poor result last week. I don't think they'll bounce back either. Hearts, I think Hearts, and Gordon's done well. I think Hearts are the big one of the day. I think they will win that one quite comfortably. I think Mark McGee will still have a reaction to win. St Johnstone for me are the team of the season. I think they're doing particularly well just now, and Kilmarnock will be doing well to get something there. And I just think Celtic, with the strength and depth that they've got, will be too strong for Ross County.
Yeah, okay. And what do you make of that, Murdo?
I'm just looking at your point system there, but I think most of the home sides today, I fancy most of the home sides. I think tomorrow, I think Celtic will get a kick up the backside, and I think they'll go and get all 3 points. It'll be tough because Ross County now are talking the way the European sides are talking. Let Celtic get all the ball, let them come into our half, and we'll go and hit them in the counter attack.
Yeah.
If teams start doing that, then that'll even be more of a reason the manager's got to look at changing the system at the back.
I can tell you Albion Rovers against Cowdenbeath, that match has been postponed, and I can only suggest to you, due to some of the unbelievable weather, I think that game will be waterlogged at the pitch, so Darren Young will be kicking his heels this afternoon, maybe getting in the car and going to look elsewhere. The other good news on the Saturday afternoon programme, we're certainly getting a bit of credibility with this, how to lose money over a sustained period. Our treble has been so poor it defies belief, which is quite simply, Murdo, 3 of us picking a team each. We put a small amount of money on, nothing to rock the boat, and hopefully we get a wee night out where all 3 of us basically are forced to hang about with each other because we wouldn't do it under normal circumstances. So here is the treble this afternoon. There you are, me in the middle with the tie. I'm going for the high Bs. Suddenly Gordon Smith is a jambo for the day, and Roughie really putting his neck on the line. Aberdeen against the Dundee United side that couldn't buy a win at the moment. So there you have it. Aberdeen, Hibs and Hearts are our choices. Murdo?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, you happy with it?
Yeah, I think it's a good choice. But I watched Dundee United last week, and what a change. Obviously midweek they get battered by Hibs in the cup, but last week against Ross County there was a good atmosphere about them. They worked really hard, a good team spirit. So Mixu kicking their backsides the previous week, it worked for them. They got all 3 points, and now they'll be going up there, and everybody's tipping Aberdeen. And if Aberdeen don't perform, United, traditionally it's a good game between the two of them, United might just go up and cause a problem.
Well, explain to us then the mad world of football, Murdo, because quite simply there's a man who's now the new manager of York City who transformed that side, sold players on, reduced the debt of $6 million in 2 years, and the reward was the sack.
Yeah, very, very, for me, very unfair. I know Jackie well, so I'm kind of backing him up a wee bit, but for someone to bring through all the kids and get them into the spotlight and sell players on and still keep on producing more kids, and it's not just Jackie, it's all his coaches he's got underneath him, it's helping to do a really good job at Dundee United. But I think the day Jackie's contract was put out in the public domain was the day Jackie was leaving Dundee United, because he was the fall guy for this. They weren't playing so well, but all the players were out. But Jackie took the blame for everything because he was getting part of the transfer fee of any players who's moving on. And Jackie at no point decided to sell a player, decided to put how much they were going to sell him for. That was all the board. So it was up to the board to say, no, we're not going to sell Chief G to Celtic, we're not going to take £1 million, and Jackie's not going to get a commission out of that.
Yeah.
No, it was the board's decision to do all these and sell all these players.
Yeah, it all seems strange how it did come public though, didn't it?
Yeah, it's terrible, Gordon.
Yeah, it was a shame from when that came out, because right away there was a degree, because results weren't going great, he would get more time with the fans if it hadn't been for that.
Correct, 100%. Because I was up at one of the games, and what game? Kilmarnock, Dundee United, just before he gets sacked, Kilmarnock went up there and they were playing away. It was a good game. United were the better side, and then Kelly scored a late winner. And all of a sudden the fans just turned on him, and I felt really sorry for him, because it was, again, he's missing not just the 3 or 4 that went out of the club, but the players that's out injured, suspensions, and he really struggled to get a full and any experience about his team.
Yeah.
And I just think it was a strange decision.
Let's hope he does well down there. I would like to see him, because then he can build his career again. I just saw this week, back yesterday, Peter, that Derek Adams got a Manager of the Month award down in England.
Did he?
Yeah. So that's a sign that, that's good that he's managed to get into a job down there, obviously at a lower level, much lower level, but it shows you that you can build your career again, and let's hope Jackie does the same.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's no doubt, Roughie, I'm just trying to think to myself, has Plymouth got a good nightlife? Is it worth going down there to see him for a special?
I haven't been to Plymouth myself, I don't know.
You take your yacht down there, you can sail
yacht, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go to Tynecastle because Craig Turnbull has details of something unusual happening. Craig?
Yeah, Peter, it's Hearts 0, Hamilton 0, and obviously the ground is pretty sodden from the rain earlier, and we've just seen the ball boy slip and hurt himself as he went to retrieve the ball. The Hearts physio is now on giving attention to the boy. Quite unbelievable scenes here, and it's got a wee round of applause from everybody in the ground, but it's still 0-0 as we've played about 3 minutes here at Tynecastle.
Kilmarnock have scored.
Yeah, Kilmarnock have got the goal, and right away we've got a goal in the Premiership here in Scotland. St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1. Roughie, I know you're going to say right now there's a long way to go in it, but nevertheless, suddenly Killy get the lead.
Yeah, and unfortunately for St Johnstone, I mean, Gordon will probably correct me here, but most of their good forms are away from home.
Yeah.
You know, they play really well. I don't know whether it's a style that they adapt when they play away from home, but it certainly isn't as good as when they're at home, because they tend to struggle. But there is a long way to go.
Well, it'll be interesting to see Peter, the Scottish clubs, if they start adopting the way Molde has played against Celtic the last couple of games. Now, I don't mean just against Celtic in the Scottish leagues, but even at home, St Johnstone, you're talking, Alan, there about St Johnstone being better away from home, maybe because they're sitting in, and then the pace of a Harlan up front, counter-attack. So
here's another unusual thing that we very rarely mention on this programme, but I think it's it's a situation where I think you've got to pay credit to the manager, Gary Locke. Suddenly he's taken Stephen Smith from the left back position, moved him into the midfield area, and he's scoring goals. He scored the goal today.
Yeah, I mean, he has. He's been getting goals. I mean, he's also pretty good from free kicks as well. Yeah. He actually performs well in that regard, and he's a good professional. I know him well, and he's a good lad too, and he's a very honest professional.
Well, what do you make of this, by the way? Because I think we're going to go to Ibrox, because I think Rangers might have had a goal-scoring opportunity. Derek Clark is there for us.
Yeah, absolutely sensational play from Rangers there. James Tavernier started it off a 1-2 with Martin Waghorn, and then played it to Andy Halliday, who played a 1-2 back to Tavernier, who's through on goal. He really should have tucked the ball away, but he tagged it wide. It's still Rangers 0, Alloa 0.
And Roughie, I saw a smile on your face there, which tells me Lindsay has scored for Partick Thistle. Dundee 0, Partick Thistle 1. Yeah, certainly, definitely unpredictables this year, and I don't think anybody going to a Partick Thistle game can predict how it's going to outcome. But certainly Dundee aren't playing particularly well at this moment in time either. But certainly Partick Thistle will take that goal. It's something they've always been really struggling for, and
Sometimes they can hang on in there, but the biggest failing is they've never been able to get the killer second.
Well, it's
Dundee
amazing
only
you're saying
won-
that. They've only got 10 goals scored in Partick Thistle.
Exactly, they've hardly scored up, but the thing about it is Dundee, Roughie, I agree with Roughie, and that's why I talked him out of to putting Dundee in his coupon, because I said to him, they've only won one of the last 6 games. They've only won one of the last 6 games, Dundee, and with see the players they've got and the type of style of play, they should be doing better, you think, but it must be a confidence thing, because they're not getting the results, Dundee, at the moment.
Well, I think the other thing that you've got to be aware of, and Murdo will know this only too well, that Roughie looks, and if he likes the look of the colour of the strip, or there's something that he just likes in the way that he says the name of the team, then he picks it, Murdo. The mere fact that Gordon gave him stats is irrelevant. Just to sway your mind on it. But goals are going in, nevertheless, and I can tell you Morton have got a goal in the match against Livingston. They are 1-0 up, and I always say on this, I have a soft spot. I don't know what it is. I've always had a wee soft spot for Morton. Could be because they keep inviting me down to their end of season dinner. That's
a good reason. That's
as good a reason as any. But I have to say, Jim Duffy, I have high regard for, because if ever there's a manager that I think has got great qualities that's been overlooked, and he's had to almost reinvent himself again.
Yeah, and great success again over the last couple of years. But I think Morton is a football club. For me, it's a great place to go. Go down there as a football player. It was all terracings and the atmosphere in the shed there and all that kind of thing, and it was always one of these grounds. It was always really tight, and no matter what team you're playing against, or playing for against Morton, it was always a tough match. No matter where they were sitting in the table, it was always tough going down to Capello.
I've never had a soft spot for Morton, and you can blame Andy Ritchie for that.
What I would say, Peter, though, is I wouldn't write Livingston off yet in terms of how they've done this season. There's been some games where they were looking pretty down and out in a match, and they've come back well. Definitely, Mark Burchell's got them playing, and he's moved them up the league, sitting with 10 points, level points with Dumbarton and St Mirren. And I think he's done a great job there. Yeah,
Denny Johnston getting the goal for Morton there. So they're a goal up. Long way to go in that one. And as Gordon Smith mentioned, Livingston have had some good results of late. McHardy has scored for Elgin City. They're a goal up on Annan. And that league is really interesting. I mean, all the leagues at the moment have got something to play for at the top end of it. Obviously, Celtic have the advantage over Hearts and Aberdeen. But Championship, League 1 and League 2, so tight.
Well, it's really tight, and that's where we want it. No, it's an awful long way to go, because I think it'll not just be the teams sitting at the top just now. Others will come into the picture, because you know yourself, there's sides sitting there just now, and you're thinking, oh, they're struggling. But it's great struggling at this time of the year, Peter. There's no problem. But when you go on a good run halfway through the season and you start catching up, then you think, oh, there's 12 games to go, we've got a great chance of getting in the top 3 or 4. So the whole dynamic's changing the league towards the end of the season. So it's always a chance for the teams at the bottom just now.
St Mirren scored against Hibs.
Oh, there you go.
Look at Ron.
I'm just happy it's not me, it's Spectre.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I mean...
oh my goodness.
That's Alec Miller formula in there.
Exactly.
Alec's got one going.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, they've got 11 behind the ball, and they've just had a counter-attack. I'm winding you up. But Alec Miller will undoubtedly make a huge impression on Ian Murray. So much experience over the years, and again, you've got to look back at his CV, and they were part of a backroom team at Liverpool that won the Champions League in 2005. Let's go to Ibrox. There's been a goal, and Derek Clark is there.
Yeah, 10 minutes gone. It's Rangers 1, Alloa 0, and it's Martin Waghorn with the 16th goal of the campaign. It was a mistake from Andy McNeil, the Alloa keeper. Bad clear out straight to Waghorn, and he right-footed volleyed it into the back of the net to make it Rangers 1, Alloa 0.
I like Waghorn as a player, Gordon Smith. There's something, I mean, he's stocky, looks as if, he's always got that Chris Commons look about him, as if he's carrying a bit of weight in the back areas, but he's got a lovely trick about him as well.
Yeah. Well, he's got a good strike of a ball as well, hasn't he?
What's it back here?
Well, his backside, I didn't want to go into it in greater detail. Well, exactly, well, his backside gone. But again, he's got a trick and he knows the way to go.
Aye, he's strong, he definitely knows his way to go.
I've just equalised.
Yeah, it was a equalised. equalised.
Thanks for that. And by the way, don't forget, if Gordon's making a point and one of Roughie's old team scores, he just clashes in all over him. Him's have equalised. I don't care what you're saying, Gordon.
No, I'm glad you came in with that, because that's an important message to give out there, that Hibs have got back in. Don't tear that up yet, that slip you've got there.
No, exactly.
Don't tear the betting slip up.
So they've equalised. So again, I mean, I think that's
Cummings is in great form, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about great strikes. His strike against Rangers, I thought, was first class. I don't think MD stopped it.
Oh, listen, there's a penalty kick at Fir Park. Gordon Parks has the details.
I do. Craig Thompson, who turned down a claim for Inverness, a decent claim about 3 minutes ago, when James Vincent definitely looked as if he was went over a leg when Kieran Kennedy. For me, it was a penalty kick. Craig Thompson said no. Stephen McManus has just handled across from the right, and Inverness again rightly, his arm went up, the ball hit it. Craig Thompson pointed to the spot. Inverness have the penalty kick. Greg Tansey, who's been pulling the strings early on, is stepping up. Right footed, dispatched, keeper saves, and Motherwell have survived. Terrific stop there. Tansey's low penalty kick to Conor Ripley's right hand side. Long dive, touches it away, and there's controversy here. Craig Thompson has ordered a retake.
Oh well, would you know, I thought you were going to get your first commentary goal, Gordon. You're only on the programme 1 hour, but retake, has there been encroachment in the box?
Well, it seems to me as if there has to be, because it's a terrific save. Conor Ripley, full stretch, touches it away. The home support are furious about it. You know, Craig Thompson's adamant he's pushing away the protests. Obviously the penalty will be taken again, it's a second chance. To be honest with you, it's difficult to tell, but Tansey's got a chance again to put his side one up.
Not knowing the rules 100%, but is there an opportunity with Tansey missing it for somebody else to say, right, I'm taking the retake?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see then from Gordon Parks.
Again, opposite corner, goal, Inverness 1, Motherwell now. Controversial moment, the fans are not happy, but the stat goes, Inverness have scored.
Don't get too excited, Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Gordon. He's kept a lid on it there. But I'll tell you, the good thing about putting Gordon there, if there's controversy, he'll be able to handle it. There's no doubt about that. Let's go. Oh, there's no doubt about that. I'll write that down. That's 1 for me, Roughie. 7 for yourself. That's his catchphrase.
Goal at Ibrox.
Goal at Ibrox. Derek Clark.
Yeah, 13 minutes gone in this one, and it's pretty much game over. Rangers 2, Alloa 0. It's James Tavernier with a trademark free kick from the edge of the area, right-footed into the corner of the net to net his 10th goal of the campaign. Rangers 2, Alloa 0.
So is Alloa going to lose their good record at Ibrox?
Yeah, I think they are since 1923. But the great thing about Derek is he's so definitive on his statements. If you just pack up, Derek, and don't bother staying then, that's game over. 2-0.
I know it was quite a courageous prediction I had, but I did say that Rangers would maybe win today.
Yeah, the mere fact that you're highlighting that tells me all about you rather than anything else. Honestly.
You say that as if to say, a strong prediction there.
And Murdo's fallen into that famous first day of, I think, all the home teams in the Premiership will do particularly well today.
They'll get beaten.
Listen, the great thing about the opinions, Murdo, it can change dramatically on this programme.
Don't worry about it, we do it every week.
We're sitting at 5-5, I'll get pelters then.
Yeah, but it will change, believe me, as the ball hits the back of the net. But again, listen, I think it's got the makings of 6 or 7 at Ibrox.
I must do. I mean, really. I mean, depends whether they just get so much in front. But he's obviously wound them up a little bit too, regarding because of last week's performance result. But what I found interesting was, Peter, that I couldn't quite understand why he changed the system to go to Hibs last week. Because even you're on a run, winning every game, and then you go to play a match, regardless of whether you think this is going to be a hard game, opponents, you stick by what's been successful for you, and yet he changed his team around, played 3 centre-backs.
It was time that he left out the 2 on loan boys.
Yeah.
You know, the boys with skill.
He brought them back in.
To go. Maybe thought it was going to be a wee bit.
Fight him another centre back as well.
Gordon,
he's changed it back again.
Maybe he thought, I'm going to change it here because the quality of Hibs.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
And if you change it and it works, it's great.
Yes.
You're a master, you're a great manager. But if it doesn't work, then people talk about it. Why did you change it?
Yeah.
But maybe he's back to his same system again today.
Well, let's look at the latest from the Premiership. If you're checking your coupon, if you just want to know exactly how the other teams are faring, it's no goals in the game up at Pittodrie. Dundee 0, Partick Thistle 1. Liam Lindsay with a goal there. No goals at Tynecastle. The ball boy has received treatment. That's the only news to report from the capital. Motherwell 0, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 1. There's controversy there. You don't need a reason for Motherwell fans to give you absolute pelters if you're a referee, but certainly Craig Thompson has allowed Greg Tansey to take a second penalty kick and wasn't happy with something he spotted at the first one after a great save by Ripley, and Inverness get the chance to take it again. They score, it's 1-0. St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1 in that match there. So that's how it looks in the Premiership. What about the Championship? It really is an afternoon where I don't think too many people will be wondering if there's a shock at Ibrox. They're 2-0 up already. Tavernier's got his 10th of the season. This is the fullback. 10 goals in Waghorn. Now moves on to 16 goals for the season. It's an incredible scoreline. St Mirren took the lead through Kelly at New St Mirren Park, but Jason Cummings, his 7th goal in 7 games, gets the equaliser there. St Mirren 1, Hibs 1. I don't know if I mentioned Morton 1 at Livingston 0. Tell me about Cummings in your minds, Murdo McLeod. This boy is on fire.
Yeah, and he's a good goal scorer. But I think that was the problem with Hibs last season. He went off form. He stopped scoring goals, and I think that'd been a problem for Hibs. If he can continue to score goals all season, Hibs will be a threat. I think if they can score goals, because Hibs, they've got their midfield's as strong as anyone's. Even the Rangers midfield, I'd look at the Hibs side and think it's as strong as the Rangers midfield. At the back they're strong, good goalkeeper. Hibs will make a challenge if they can get the ball into the net, the opposition net, and I think Cummings is a top player.
I'll take that a stage further for you, Gordon Smith. I think Hibs midfield is better than Rangers midfield.
I think it is probably at the moment. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that that's where they control most of their games from midfield area. Very strong. Rangers have they're trying to put a midfield together to a great degree. You know, the young lad in from Arsenal is a good player, but he's inexperienced. You know, he's only a teenager, and they're going with the 2 white players and all that. But so I think that they're still trying to get their midfield sorted out, and also at the back, because Danny Wilson came from Hearts as the captain of Hearts' team that gets promoted, went straight into the Rangers team, and now he's been left out. I mean, he's already. The manager's just almost looked at him, and he brought him in last week. And he was probably at fault at one of the goals anyway. I think he was definitely at fault with although it was a great goal from Cummings, I think that most defenders would have shown Cummings onto his right foot, wouldn't they? You know,
I think one of the biggest mistakes that Rangers made was letting the boy McGregor go.
Yeah, it was a strange one.
Player of the year,
last year.
And you let him go, and you now see him at Hibs just now. He's just strolling through games just now. So maybe they should have taken a wee bit of time to let the boy, you know, maybe not settle. You can't settle if you're the player of the year, but they were moving him to full back, and then they were bringing him into centre half. I just think he looks very capable wherever he plays.
But sometimes you look at the whole situation and you're thinking, who made the decision? Because it was a hasty decision, I think. Because he touched on player of the year. He's been through a couple of bad injuries in his career, and then you're thinking, being player of the year at Rangers the previous season, then you're thinking, surely he's got something about him. You know, especially someone who can play at the back, even play right back for you, could be a sitter in midfield. And you need a player like that. And you need someone who knows the Scottish game as well. Because, Gordon, you're talking about the lone player up at Rangers just now, a young boy. Young boy into the side there. And you just think, he doesn't really know the game.
No.
So you need someone with a wee bit of experience, especially when you're at the top of the table, and you need to thwart teams like Hibs, because you look at the midfield, because I think with Henderson, McGeoch, Fivey, McGinn, what a really good signing McGinn's been for Hibs. So the Rangers have got to compete with really good quality in the middle of the park.
It was a good signing, because McGinn also had Premier League offers as well, and he decided to go to Hibs, and that was amazing to go to a Championship team, but it was a good sign because he's seen the potential there, McGinn, and he's become one of the top players for him.
Yeah, Liam Watt scored for Airdrieonians at Forfar. They're a goal up.
Just scored again.
And
Peter.
again, it's now 2, so Airdrie in a good position there. Also, another goal that came in, Stranraer 0, Stenhousemuir 1 from the lower leagues, League 1. And of course, Stranraer haven't been going well. They've lost the last 3 games, but I think Stenhousemuir deserve all the credit, because we looked at last week's game when they were 3-0 down to a hat-trick from Rory McAllister of Peterhead, and then suddenly they came back to win by 4 goals to 3. So certainly I think Brown Ferguson well happy with what they are producing there at the moment. It's Saturday afternoon on STV Glasgow and STV Edinburgh. We are bringing you all the goals that hit the back of the net. Still no goals in the Premier League in England. We're crying out for a goal there. The only one that finished earlier was Bournemouth 0, Newcastle United 1. And you just wonder at the bottom end of that division, Murdo, who is going to make the drop in of all seasons, a season where they know that next season the money that each club gets paid in the Barclays Premier League is colossal because of the other broadcast deals that they've signed.
Yeah, that's the thing. No, if you're down in England, no, it's just amazing the amount of money. If you're going down and you get the parachute money, and you're just thinking you've got so much money, you can go and buy any player you want in the world with the money that they're making. And that's why I think sometimes we're sitting up here in Scottish football and thinking we've got Tuppen's halfpenny to go and do things, and yet down in England the clubs, and if they're even the small, likes of Bournemouth going up and Watford being up there, teams like that, and now with the amount of finances that's put into that football club, they can become a side that's going to challenge the other sides, maybe not the top 4 or 5, but the other sides in the league. Whereas up here, we can't have a challenge because no money goes into the other sides, whether they're in the bottom half of the Premier League up here in Scottish football, or even coming up. They're giving Tuppen's halfpenny, and they can't afford even one player. And that's why Scottish football now, and I know we're being negative about it, but that's why we're dropping down. All the other leagues are getting money pumped in from the television companies. We're not. We've got to look to see if we can start getting better sponsorship.
Well, I think the Premiership champions, Roughie, get, what, £2.8 million? It's a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's very apparent that the successful teams up here are the teams who are getting supported. You know, we spoke about Hearts earlier on, and they've done particularly well in every area of what they've done, but let's not forget they're getting 16,000 supporters. Now imagine Partick Thistle, St Johnson, Inverness, we're getting 16,000 supporters. Can you imagine the finances that would be coming into these clubs? And surely they would be able to organise itself a bit better.
That's why it's amazing what Ross County and Inverness have done when you consider the level of fan groups. Ross County are fortunate to the extent they've got Roy McGregor there, who's got a bit of money as well, can help that way, but really their fan base is very, very small, both of them. Yeah,
I'm just wondering, guys, what the German Saturday football show is all about with Wolfgang and his 3 pundits, because Bayern Munich are 4-0 up on Stuttgart and they've had 20 shots on target. I wonder if they have the same attitude to their game, because Murdo, there are only, I mean, let's be realistic, there's only 2 or 3 teams that really, challenge more often than not against Bayern Munich. I mean, Wolfsburg had an unbelievable run.
That's right.
Then Dortmund had their time where they also got to the Champions League final, but a lot of leagues across Europe have those dominant 1 or 2 teams.
Yeah, well, they're just unbelievable just now, Bayern Munich. No, before they're untouchable, absolutely untouchable. I think they're 7 points clear at the top now from Dortmund. So and Dortmund are on a good run. They're happy with their run just now. But Bayern Munich... Has
Lewandowski managed to score today? Because he's struggling for goals at the moment.
His confidence is low.
Has he managed to get back and score?
I couldn't tell you if he scored. All I was screaming out at me, I'm thinking, wow, we're moaning about our league and Bayern Munich are just again.
I think there's a good chance he might have scored one of those goals.
It used to be 10 years ago, Peter, in German football, it was always going to be a challenge. Bayern Munich would be there, Stuttgart would be there, Borussia Dortmund would be up there, Hamburg might be there, Wolfsburg might come into the equation. Now it's a one-horse race. And I think more and more people are beginning to talk about German football used to be the best football to watch, the best atmosphere, the best crowds going to all the games. but now that they're beginning to kind of turn away a wee bit because they know it's going to be Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
So you either go and watch Bayern Munich for the amount of goals they score, Peter. It's just fantastic. The football they play is great to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael O'Halloran is another man who's great to watch. He scored to equalise for St Johnstone. St Johnstone 1, Kilmarnock 1. I think that was a scoreline I had in my match predictor, Roughie, to be honest with you. And let's hope both defences get their act together there and just hold out for the 90th minute so I can get back into this battle. We'll need to, and I think I'm going to be fair to you, Roughie, we will need to come up with a bet that allows us end of season for you maybe to get a meal out, because the last 2 seasons it's been embarrassing. Clyde 1, Montrose 0.
Yeah, it was even more embarrassing when we went to the restaurant and you picked the dearest bottle of wine in the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you could have went for a wee cheapie.
Yeah, I could have gone for a wee cheapie. No, absolutely not. But you want to see his face when I ordered it. But yeah, we'll need to come up with something, Roughie. Let's go to for Park. Are the Motherwell fans still moaning Gordon Parks?
Well, public enemy number one. He hasn't helped himself with the fact that there's been a couple of decisions after the penalty kick that he awards for for Greg Tansey to step up at the second attempt to put Inverness ahead. Now Craig Thompson has kept his cards in his pocket when really there could have been a couple of yellows flashed for tackles on Lionel Ainsworth, who's been effective down the right hand side. Motherwell coming back into it. You know, you were mentioning the Albion Rovers game being cancelled just along the corner here because there's been heavy rain in Lanarkshire, but pitch is terrific here. There's a bit of zip about it, bit of an edge, but Craig Thompson is public enemy number one.
Yeah, and no surprise you mentioned the pitch. They've spent a lot of money on it and they've got, obviously, someone to take care of it on a weekly basis. Let's go to Tynecastle. Craig Turnbull has details of a goal.
Peter, Hearts have just opened the scoring through Prince Blabbin. Hearts 1, Hamilton 0. Great play from Sam Nicholson on the left hand side. Played the ball into Blabbin. He hit a stinging shot from about 25 yards. It skimmed off the surface. Michael McGovern got a hand to it but wasn't able to keep it out. Hearts 1, Hamilton 0.
Nice time to get your first goal of the season. Prince Blabbin, they've got a bit of they've got a bit of choice in the middle of the park, Roughie. Blabbin and Gomez usually are those two players that are the protectors to allow the likes of a Nicholson, a Walker, a King to try and develop something. Yeah,
it was very evident today when they left it 2 or 3 players, some with injury. I mean, the boy Walker, who I think is a great player with them, they've left him out. They've stuck, as you just said there, the 2 or 3 really experienced players and guys who are wanting to be battling to get back into the side because they know that there's a good pool of players there. So he's got players in there wanting to impress the manager, and that looks as if what they're doing just now.
Interesting, Peter. We've spoken about it a lot. For Dick Campbell there, you know, he done such a great job in the past. They're in a terrible run just now. They're now 3-0 down at home to Airdrie, and you know they haven't won. I think in the last 8 or 9 games, I don't think they've won a game.
Yeah.
So having a real bad time.
I'd love to be, you know, a fly in the wall sometimes to try and work out something that just clicks, that turns the forum completely off. And you mentioned it earlier, Murdo, with Aberdeen. You just can't put your finger on something that goes wrong. And, you know, it could be a training ground bust up. It could be something that the manager, you know, says, or he changes something, he tweaks it.
Anything can happen in a football dressing room, Peter. You know, the manager could say something against a player or have a go at a player. If that player's got 2 or 3 pals and the pals saying, you're right, you had a go at him and all this kind of thing, then all of a sudden the dressing room they just take the foot off the gas. They still think they're doing the right things. They'll still come out and say there's no problem in the dressing room. But when there's something just kind of floating about,
well, Forfar were one of the teams that were considered for promotion. You know, everybody thought for the start of the season, okay, and I say they've had one win in the last 9 games. But you look at it and you think to yourself, I mean, they're sitting next to Airdrie in the league, and they're 3-0 down at home after 20.
Did Forfar? They were in the playoffs last year, didn't they? Was it 3-1 the first game?
Yeah,
and then they ended up losing.
I think as well in a lot of teams as well. When you're a team, obviously 11. You've got players in your team that you know are better than the others, and you rely on them. And when they're on fire, like the McGinns, you know, and the Hayes and the Rooneys, when they're on fire, everybody else toes the line, you know. But when they stop, people then say, well, I have to step up here, and some times they can't do it, and that's when you struggle.
Well, I can tell you, Mark Fitzpatrick scored that third goal for Airdrie. Lanzini has scored for West Ham. They're a goal up on Everton in the Barclays Premier League, hoping to bounce back this week. Slaven Bilic, certainly the Hammers have received a lot of praise for their position in the Barclays Premier League. What about here in League One? Here's the latest scores for you in the lower leagues in Scotland. Albion Rovers against Cowdenmeath. Just in case you hadn't heard, waterlogged pitch there. Brecon City and Ayr United, Dunfermline and Peterhead, still no goals there. There's that scoreline. Forfar 0, Airdrieonians 3 and Stranraer 0, Stenhousemuir 1. What about League 2 for the latest scores there? Arbroath 0, East Fife 1, Berwick Rangers 0, Stirling Albion 0, Clyde are a goal up on Montrose, East Stirling 0, Queen's Park 0 and Elgin City 1, Annan Athletic 1. So the equaliser for the team at the top in League 2 as well. That's how it looks across the country. You're watching STV Edinburgh, STV Glasgow. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo McLeod are with me here in the studio to keep you right up to date with all the games. Don't forget, you can give us your views at Peter and Roughie on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Roughie, and get on to peterandroughie.com and give us your opinion as well on your team's performances. Any stories that are annoying you, we have a couple of polls going on at the moment on Twitter. One of them, of course, is regarding Ronnie Deila. Should he be allowed to continue as Celtic manager given the same time as previous managers? Yes or no? We'll bring you the latest on that right now, and I'm just trying to see 54% on that poll say yes, he should be allowed the same time as previous managers. Other than that, we have another poll which basically concerns Rangers. Should they be stripped of titles won in the EBT years? 67% say yes. I don't think there's a lot of desire among people within football, but certainly the fans of clubs out with Rangers want to see titles being stripped, but that's a long way off. Even Neil Doncaster this morning has said that there's a judgment still to be made. If it goes to appeal, we'll find out if David Murray's going to make that appeal. I think he's got until the first week of December. And then after that, it could be, some have suggested, a year down the line. But a long way to go in that saga. On the field, Rangers cruising at the moment. Let's go to Ibrox. Derek Clark.
Yeah, 33 minutes gone in this one. Still Rangers 2, Alloa 0, and it really is one-way traffic sort of stuff here. Martin Waghorn obviously opened the scoring. James Tavernier doubled their advantage. Waghorn also came close with an overhead kick minutes ago, and James Tavernier again with an angled drive just couldn't keep out under the bar. Alloa really chasing shadows at the moment. It's still Rangers 2, Alloa 0.
So thought there would be more goals in that match because they were firing in all cylinders. Tavernier, Gordon Smith, we talk about him week in, week out. This young lad, again, scoring goals, double figures for a fullback. I mean, he scored 10 goals, and Murdo played with a guy who was probably one of the greatest fullbacks that we've ever had. I think he scored 9 goals in his entire career, Danny McGrain.
I think Danny was good at everything except shooting. But, I think he had all the skills. I played against him many a time. I was a left winger in my young days at Kilmarnock, and he was definitely the hardest opponent that I came up against, just in terms of his strength, his reading of the game and all that sort of thing, and he was a hard tackler as well. So he spent a lot of time as well checking back, because he did get forward. And Tavernier's the same. He makes a lot of runs forward for Rangers, and he does link up well with people, but he's a very good striker of a ball, and that's the thing about him, because his free kicks, I think it's another free kick again today, he's tremendous from those. And I think that if you get full-backs, because even Lee Wallace this year has been contributing a lot more goals than he normally does. He was never one for contributing goals, but I think that the way the system they're playing now, they're allowing both full-backs to get as far forward as they can, and when the opportunities arise there, both of them can strike a ball and they get into those sort of positions. So he's been a good signing for Rangers.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, Murdo, to see who would be player of the year. I mean, if you look at Tavernier, for a fullback to score that amount of goals, but Waghorn, obviously, strikers tend to grab the limelight.
It's usually they'll get the trophies, but a fullback scoring so many goals, and I wonder if a lot of the managers in the Championship they've got to change their tactics a wee bit, because Rangers are having their 2 full-backs going the full distance. It's not as if it's always free kicks from a set play. He's going in with wee 1-2s, he's getting in beyond at the back 4. So they've now got to say to their defenders, or even the midfielders, you've got to track the whole way a full-back coming forward, which is a great option to have. And Wallace scoring goals as well, Peter. So from both sides, they're a danger.
That was one thing that I noticed about it last week, especially in the game against Hibernian. In first half, you had McGinn and Henderson who were able to stop both Rangers fullbacks getting any real penetration. Second half, Henderson went off, and suddenly the game opened up and allowed Mackay to play those little reverse balls that Murdo's talking about, Roughie, in between 2 players, and Wallace is running onto them. You can see why he's chipping in with goals as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know the 2 of them are going to get forward, you know, and you can possibly compensate by moving everybody over to shut one off, but a big switch to the other side means that all you need is one player not to fulfil what his obligations are, and he's in, you know. But you're looking at a game at Alloa. I mean, Alloa would play with, what, 1 striker? You know, so that means your 2 full-backs can be practically on the halfway line. You know, and you would say that the other 2 can take care of the one guy up front, and that's why they're so successful. But no, to score that many goals, I would probably give it to the full-back, because most of the striker boys' goals are penalties. From penalties.
Well, I think half of them are penalties. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Boszalewski has scored for Clyde there, 2-0 up on Montrose, and I'm not going to say that name again because it's tough enough. Boszalewski, I hope I've got it right for him, Michael. My apologies if I haven't pronounced it correctly. I'm usually quite good with names of foreign players, but that one is an absolute cracker. It's definitely got a bit of Polish heritage in it, and I can tell you, he's a homegrown boy, but he scored nevertheless for Clyde. And Barry Ferguson, I just am amazed at the amount of people who are talking about, you know, you should be looking for him to quit. He's put his heart and soul into that club at the moment. He's worked hard, Murdo, in the background.
Well, that's the thing, you know, you've got to work hard as a manager at all levels. No, and he's got people putting players into the club. But Clyde, he'll gradually get a good run going, and there'll be a bit of confidence about the club, because it's sometimes when you've been down at the bottom end, Gordon, you know what it's like, that the players just kind of switch off a wee bit, and a lot of the players, you know, the foreign players that's come in, they're thinking, well, I'm not going to fight for the bottom basement next season again, so they'll leave. So you've got to build a new side. So Barry's been out and done that this year, and it's you get a wee bit better rewards.
The thing about it is that league's right open, Murdo, because I mean it's 6 points separates second top and second bottom. Montrose are second top and with 18 points, still in Albion second bottom with 12, and there's nothing in it. And they say Clyde have got 15, so if they win today, they actually catch up with Montrose. But the interesting thing about Montrose, you say it's interesting, it probably won't be interesting to you, because I'm
don't say that.
I'm going to bore you again.
Oh no, I'm glad you've narrowed it down to this point.
I'm boring it down. Montrose, I was checking on their stats, and Montrose, I've got game by game, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, every game.
No, you're right.
You're
right.
Well, listen, I wonder why we held on for that point there. From let's go to Tynecastle to bring you back up to an exciting level. There's a goal at Tynecastle.
Second goal for Hearts, Peter. It's Hearts 2, Hamilton Accies now, and it was the Belgian midfielder Arnaud Jejum from 4 yards out. He couldn't miss. It was Sam Nicholson's ball in from the left hand side. Sendles White missed the header. He's just come on for a substitute for Garcia Terra. He missed the header. It fell to So. He squared it to Jejum in the 6 yard box, and he planted the ball beyond Michael McGovern. Hearts 2, Hamilton now.
And if you're going to have a goal for Hearts, you might as well have a goal for Hibs as well. They're now 2-1 up on St Mirren at New St Mirren Park, Roughie. Yeah,
it's a great to get it just before half time as well. I still think St Mirren will have something to say about this one, but certainly going 2-1 up, getting into half time, you would expect them to build on that. And can I mention to you, Murdo McLeod, James Keatings clearly sees himself as a striker. He wants to play, if he's not getting the out-and-out striking role, he wants to play off the striker, and he's chipping in this, what he suggests is a diamond role. Yeah, well that's the thing, if you're getting forward and see guys that's got that knack of scoring the goals, they want to be on the front line, they want to be there, or if they want to get into the number 10 role, just in behind, because they know they can pick up all the scraps from that role, Gordon, and then just take it off the main striker and chip in from that area as well. So, but when you've got a knack of scoring goals, Peter, you don't want to be playing wide left, wide right.
you want to be playing through the middle or just off the striker.
That's where I was at. When I was a midfield player, I always wanted to be central mid, so I could go and join up with the front people. So because if you're stuck out wide and all that, you don't get the opportunities. But Keating is a good player, and he's certainly fitting in well. We spoke about other people at Hibs, Peter, about players that are contributing, but I think he could be a very good sign for him as well. He's beginning to come through.
His main problems have been injuries. He seems to go on a wee run, and he seems to score goals, and then he gets an injury, and he's out for 4 or 5 weeks, and then he's got to fight his way back in again. You know, and that's the unfortunate. So let's hope we can stay away from these injuries.
Yeah, I think he's one of those players as well, and I think we can rhyme off 2 or 3 who've actually made the change. Is quite simply, you know, the Hibs fans are waiting to warm to him. I mean, he came on as a substitute last week, and there was a good round of applause, but there wasn't dancer, here comes James Keatings. But you know, I wonder if you guys, we're going to go to Ibrox, but while we go to Ibrox for a quick update on Alloa and an attack, you guys could maybe write down players who've played for Hibs or Hearts, played for Hibs and joined Hearts, or played for Hearts and joined Hibs, played for the 2 Edinburgh clubs. Right. Maybe if you can write down a few of those names as well.
But do you know that Falkirk have equalised against
Race? There's Murdo's looking as if we're complete space cadets on that line, by the way, but that's just a wee test of the knowledge there of players that have played for both halves. As we go to Ibrox, almost maybe a chance for a goal back, Derek?
Yeah, it sure was a real let-off for Rangers there. Dominic Ball sold the jerseys. Michael Chopra moved in on goal. He rattled the crossbar with his effort. He really should have scored and burst the net, but it still remains Rangers 2, Alloa 0.
So it was a chance there for Alloa. Could have just made it slightly nervy, but 2-0 still the scoreline for Rangers. They will still have the advantage if the scores stayed the same at the moment. Let's go to Fir Park, because something's happening there, and I think it could have implications for Celtic, Gordon Parks.
Implications for Celtic, certainly. It looked a worrying sight when Ryan Christie charged a clearance from Josh Law just over the... It looked innocuous, it was in the byline. He charged it down, it seemed to hit his knee. He crumpled to the ground, stretcher was called for. He managed to hobble with a bit of help up the tunnel, but John Hughes, who sits in the stand today, the Inverness manager, serving out a 1-match ban for comments he made about referee Andrew Dallas, obviously looked on, concerned. Danny Lopez is on. Ryan Christie, who Celtic fans will know, is killing time here to try and get some match practice before he makes a career for himself at Celtic. Looked in a lot of pain. It was a worrying sight.
Well, that is a worrying sign. I can tell you we were gloating there, well, not gloating, but actually praising James Keatings. He scored again. The Hibs are now 3-1 up in that match, Gordon. Yeah,
that's just when we give him a bit of praise, he's done it again, and that's a very good comeback from Hibs' point of view. First half, I mean, down 1-0, St Mirren, you know, you fancied Hibs would win the game, but all of a sudden they're down 1-0, and credit to them, a tremendous fight back, and it shows you the form that Hibs are in when they're now 3-1 up away from home.
Wraith won, Falkirk won, Blair Alston with the equaliser for the Bairns. Again, it's one of those clubs where I think they've done everything right. They've worked really hard to try and bring fans in at Falkirk, and they've got a good structure of young players come through, and of course a manager who knows how to develop them. Well,
without a doubt, no, Peter's been so good when he was up at United. He was involved in bringing all the younger kids through, but now, no, he's a successful manager. He's bringing in the kids. He's got a good eye for a player. Getting to the cup final, fantastic. So I think likes of just now Falkirk, but they're still there. They're sitting just behind Hibs. So they'll be allowing Hibs to take all the limelight. They're going to be the challenge. But Falkirk will not be far away as well. Yeah, Lukaku has equalised for Everton. West Ham won, Everton won in the Barclays Premier League. There's a goal at Ibrox. Derek Clark.
And it's Martin Waghorn again. It's Rangers 3, Alloa 0. Barry Mackay cross into the box. Waghorn volley into the back of the net. Rangers 3, Alloa 0.
Okay, maybe I did put a case forward for James Tavernier, and it's slipping ever so slightly. 17 goals, Roughie, from Martin Waghorn.
Yeah, it's great. You know, your first season, you've got a lot to impress. You know, there's been a lot of big strikers at Rangers, and he probably went in there with something to prove. But certainly, as the guys will know when you're a striker and you're hitting the back regularly, your confidence is absolutely sky high. You brecon that you can score in every game, and he's nearly doing that.
They're unbeaten in 9 games here, United. They're a goal up now at Brecon. Brecon City 0, Ayr United 1, Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, Ayr are on a great run. I mean, sitting top of the league at the moment, and they're pushing on. I mean, it's not much in it. I mean, there's only a point ahead of Dunfermline, but Dunfermline haven't scored yet in their game. And last week it was 3-0 against Cowdenbeath, and today again at home this time, and they've not scored. So Ayr, if Ayr win today, that puts a bit of pressure on it. But I'll just go back to Peter. Did you write down any names for Hibs? Hearts.
Yeah. Yes. What have you got? You want to give it? You want to give us all of yours?
I've got my namesake.
Gordon Smith, we've got that, yeah.
Gordon Smith, I've got Gordon Jury.
Gordon Jury, yes, that was a good one, because and you only got that really because you watched the 6-2 game the other week.
Yes.
That's the only reason you got that.
Is that the reason also? Is Darren Jackson come into that category too?
Yes, Darren Jackson does come into
that's
it.
my 3.
Is that your 3, Murdo?
Michael Stewart.
Michael Stewart's a good shout, yeah. Michael Stewart, yep.
Brian Hamilton.
There it is there. That's the one, Brian Hamilton.
And,
Brian, who actually develops AstroTurf.
That's right.
He's
St Mirren player.
Yeah, that's right.
Anybody else there? Ralph Callaghan?
Your
mate. Ralph, did you have your mate down?
I had Ralph, and the ones that Gordon said, I didn't have some of the ones that...
Brian Hamilton's a great shout, a great lad, but divided opinion on his...
What does that mean?
It's a brilliant way to say, whether he was a real flavour of the month with either half, I don't know. Let's go to Fir Park, Gordon Parks.
Yeah, Motherwell have added another goal to their advantage. It just compounds the misery for Motherwell, still seething at referee Craig Thompson for awarding the penalty kick in the first place, but Arau Greg turns it to open and scoring. This is a goal, it was carved, it was made out by Miles Story on his own. He cut inside, right hand side, 20 yards out, drilled a right foot shot past Connor Ripley, smashed the top left hand corner, fantastic strike. Inverness 2, Motherwell 0.
Yep, so John Hughes will be by far the happier man. And just when it looked as if he'd started to shore it up at the back, Mark McGee's side had been exposed. I don't think it's been helped, and I think he'll be the first one to highlight it. When you get a situation where they've saved the penalty, they've allowed them to take it again. Mark McGee will not miss the referee tonight.
You're not happy with that situation, but again, you can't dwell on it. No, there's a lot of bad decisions in football, a lot of good decisions, but once you have one against you, you can't just mope it and just think, we've been hard done by. You just got to go out and play again, Peter. And I think they maybe just sat back a wee bit and allowed Inverness to get forward to get the second goal. So you've got to fancy Inverness now playing like that and get 2 goals, because they've been struggling recently and just drifting down the table.
Yeah, I have to tell you, there's only 2 goals in the Barclays Premier League this afternoon, and they're at Upton Park. West Ham 1, Everton 1, Lanzini and then Lukaku. Other than that, it's a full time from Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 1 is a full time from the early kick-off in the Premiership at the moment. We are looking and wondering where the goals are between Aberdeen and Dundee United, and of course Partick Thistle have the edge. Hearts are in control, Inverness are in control, St Johnstone and Kilmarnock, you can't separate them. There's lots more to come. We'll get the half-time scores across the country next. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday football show. It is half time across the country, and we'll be bringing you all the scores shortly. But let's go to Tynecastle. Craig Turnbull.
Yes, Peter, it's Hearts 2, Hamilton Accies 0. It's been a hard-fought first half, but it's Hearts who have the advantage thanks to goals from Prince Blabin and Arnold Dejoum. It was Blabin who opened the scoring with a fantastic long-range effort from 25 yards. The ball skimmed up off the surface and went into the back of the net. McGovern was unable to keep it out. Accies actually responded pretty well, and it was only a great save from Alexander which denied Lucas a header, a goal and the equaliser. But then that was to prove pivotal, because Hearts went and got a second goal. It was great play from Omen So in the box. He managed to show great composure to play the ball into Dejoum, and all he had to do was prod the ball past McGovern from 4 yards. Hamilton Accies have a lot to do to get back into this match. It's Hearts 2, Hamilton Accies 0.
So the home side in control there. What about Fir Park? Half time there now. Gordon Parks has the details.
Half time here at Fir Park, it's Motherwell 0, Inverness 2, a game dominated by referee Craig Thompson. Bill Ward's a penalty kick to Inverness in the 10th minute. Craig Tansey steps up, Conor Ripley pulls off a terrific save. Referee Thompson then demands that the kick gets taken again. Tansey steps up, puts it in the opposite corner, puts his side ahead. Inverness led. In between that, Ryan Christie provided a worrying sight for Celtic fans as well as Cali fans, with the fact that he get helped up the tunnel after suffering what looked to be a serious knee injury after blocking a Josh Law clearance. Inverness made it 2 just before the break. It was a terrific stripe. Miles Story cut inside in the left hand side of the box to curl a shot past Ripley, who maybe should have done better. Half time here at Fir Park, Motherwell 0, Inverness 2.
We'll have more from Gordon Parks in the second half of that match. Here's how it looks. The half-time scores in the Premiership in Scotland. Aberdeen and Dundee United still waiting for the breakthrough. Dundee 0, Partick Thistle 1, Hearts 2, Hamilton 0, as you've just heard, and Motherwell 0, Inverness Cali Thistle 2, St Johnstone 1, Kilmarnock 1. That's how it looks in the 5 matches in the Premiership. What about the Championship? It's Morton leading by a goal to 0 against Livingston. Queen of the South 0, Dumbarton 0, Wraith Rovers 1, Falkirk 1, Rangers in command by 3 goals to 0 against Alloa, and it's St Mirren 1, Hibernian 3. Into League 1. And the latest scores there, half-time, no goals there at Albion Rovers Cowdenbeath. That match was postponed just before kick-off. Brecon City 0, Ayr United 1, Dunfermline 0, Peterhead 0, Forfar 1, Airdrie 3, Stranraer 0, Stenhousemuir 1. And League 2 in Scotland, Arbroath 0, East Fife 1, Berwick Rangers 0, Stirling Albion 0, Clyde 2, Montrose 0, East Stirling, Queen's Park 0, Elgin City 2 and an Athletic 1. And there's the Barclays Premier League for you. That full time from earlier on, Bournemouth 0, Newcastle United 1. And the only goals really, and it's just an update there, it's West Ham 1, Everton 1 at half time now, because Lukaku equalised just before the break there. Join us after the break. We'll try and go to Ibrox for you, and then we're into the second half across the country. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. 45 minutes have now elapsed right across the country, and we will keep you up to date with the goals as they hit the back of the net in the second half. What do you make of that first half, first of all, Roughie, in the Premiership in Scotland?
Yeah, well, obviously from a personal point of view, disappointed with Aberdeen. Thought they at least scored one goal against Dundee United, who folded very easily against Hibs in midweek. But apart from that, as we spoke about it before, I thought Hearts were an absolute banker today against Hamilton. Well, Partick Thistle for me is the surprise result of the afternoon.
Yeah, let's go to Ibrox now. A little technical hitch there, but finally he's put the 50 pence in the meter, and Derek Clark is there for us.
Yeah, half-time here at Ibrox. It's Rangers 3, Alloa 0. It's all been too easy for Mark Warburton's men. Martin Waghorn opened the scoring in the 10th minute with a right-footed volley from just outside the box after a poor kick-out from Alloa keeper Andy McNeil. James Tavernier doubled their advantage with a trademark free kick 3 minutes later to end a 4-game goal drought. Waghorn netted his 17th goal of the campaign and Rangers his third of the afternoon on 41 minutes when he volleyed home from a Barry Mackay cross. Alloa really should have pulled a goal back when Michael Chopra capitalised on a mistake from Dominic Ball. He was one-on-one with West Foderingham, but he rattled the crossbar. It was a real let-off for Rangers in a half they've otherwise dominated. Half-time at Ibrox, Rangers 3, Alloa 0.
Gordon Smith, I don't think we anticipated anything else, really.
No, not really. I mean, Alloa, Rangers were very, very low odds, as we spoke about before the game. Alloa are having a bad time at the moment. I mean, they're sitting clearly at the bottom of the league, and you didn't fancy them at all. You thought Rangers will bounce back. The big factor was I thought, will Hibs win today as well? Because if the both of them win, depends what happens with Wraith and Falkirk, Hibs and Rangers could pull more points clear again today, and it becomes a two-horse race really for the top spot. So I think that from that point of view, I didn't see Rangers having a problem at all. And credit to Hibs, 1-0 down to St Mirren early in the game. Although it's probably the best thing when you lose a goal as early as that. But they've fought back well in the leading 3-1 now, and I'd expect Hibs to go on and win that game too. Yeah, and the point about Hibernian is every player seems to be singing from the same hymn sheet, Murdo, because they're coming out and saying the spirit in the camp is as good as it gets.
And you can't beat that. If you get a good team spirit and they're all talking about it, it's great, it's absolutely fantastic. You get out in a game, even losing the early goal away to St Mirren, because St Mirren, I spoke to Ian Murray recently and he was saying they're playing good enough football but they can't score goals. So I'm thinking now they've got their first goal, they're in front now, a massive big game for them, and yet there's Hibs to their credit coming back. They're a strong side and they'll be hard to stop.
Yep, and other news from across European football. We always like to keep you up to date with anything that concerns Scottish managers abroad, and David Moyes doesn't have his problems to seek. He's got a 6th loss in 11 La Liga games, the loss to Las Palmas yesterday, and I think tonight the Real Sociedad board will meet. And again, worrying times for David Moyes there. Yeah, it will be, because he rebuilt his reputation a bit. When he went in there at first, people were speaking highly of him in terms of how they were playing. I think they got a win against Barcelona, didn't they? They beat Barca, and everyone was saying, no, he's shown what he can do. So it is a bit of a pity for him, because I say his reputation went down after the Manchester United job. He was so strong before that, the job he'd done at Everton, and Manchester United ruined it a bit. But I thought that was a good job for him to get in order to build it again. So if he loses his job there, he's in trouble. I think initially, Peter, his results against the top sides in Spain was fantastic. He beat all the top teams, but he couldn't beat all the sides that was down the bottom half where they were. And obviously, when you're in the board, it's great when you beat the top ones, but you'd rather beat the ones down beside you and get away from the bottom end. Yeah, I think if things have been going well from Peter, continue to beat, and then a top job had come up in England, I think he would have used that as a time to go. But what happens is if he loses his job over there, it'll make it harder for him to get one of the top jobs. Well, I was going to say to you, sometimes it's all about timing, but they're 16th in La Liga, and worrying times for David Moyes. And just on that point, I think David Moyes is one of those managers at his age, even with the CV, even with the difficulties of Manchester United and Real Sociedad, he is one of our Scottish managers that comes into the category. I also think Paul Lambert as well, who don't think they are ready for the Celtic job, and that gives you an indication of the stature, and how difficult it is for Celtic to try and attract managers. And I'm not for a minute suggesting, let's get a list together of guys that are going to replace Ronnie Dyler, because quite simply, I think, we all know the pressures this current Celtic manager is under. It's only human nature that we automatically start thinking, well, if he's going, who are Celtic looking at?
Yeah.
But there is, you'd sit down with a list, and the first to come on the list would be ex-Celtic players.
Yeah, but
David Moyes, Paul Lambert.
But I don't think they view the Celtic job as where they are in their career.
No, because these guys are used to earning £2 million a year, or £1 million, or David Moyes £6 million a year.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, even though he's on a good job just now, he'll be getting reasonably well paid just now. But if he's out of job where he's earning nothing, but he still thinks my next job should be a £2 million job.
Yes.
And Celtic, that's not in the list to pay the manager that amount of money.
I think a man who would come through as a strong candidate if things move on now is also Alan Stubbs.
Oh, I think he's. I think he's an absolutely red hot favourite.
Yeah.
And some have suggested, the pressure intensifies if you guys are saying Ronnie Dyler is staying to the end of the season, which I beg to differ on. I think if he gets promotion, suddenly it intensifies, because Celtic fans start looking and saying, there's a former player who clearly has a side playing football, young players playing the right way. And of course,
Peter, building a club and a side the way he's built just now, that's what the Celtic fans will be looking at. They'll be thinking, Alan's went round Britain and one or two foreign players in, but he's brought in great good players, and he's looked at his former club Celtic and brought in two really good midfield players, took one in loan earlier on, McGeoch out there, did a good job for them. Henderson, who was an up-and-coming great player for Celtic, possibly not in the plans, great signing for him.
Yeah.
And if he can get one or two players just to, any injuries, any problems he gets, if he can get one or two of his squad just a wee bit bulkier, then he's there.
It takes a lot of belief in your character to be out of the game and sit and wait until what you think is the right man. I mean, you look at Alec McLeish, who's been at a few clubs, but Alec's quite prepared to sit and wait, until the club that he wants, and with that many managers out of the game.
If the board are looking at Ronnie Dyler eventually and thinking his time is up, supposing they do go out of Europe next couple of games, then things aren't going great in the domestic scene. They'll put their list together, obviously, and Alan Stubbs has got to be high on that list, considering the fact he's played for Celtic, knows the British game, knows the Scottish game, and he's getting the best out of his team.
But as we spoke about at the beginning there, you think Ronnie Dyler comes into the sort of the same category as Jackie McNamara? If he was to get sacked, the first thing would be going to the board and saying, here, I'm doing everything you told me to do. Cut the wage bill, bring in young Scottish players. I'm doing everything that you put on my remit. You want me to win the league, obviously. You want me to win a cup. I've done that. What do you want from me?
See, I think it would get to the stage, if the board are thinking about it, Peter, just what you've been talking about, if the board are thinking about it, then they've got to do it now. They've got to do it if they lose to Ajax and they've got no chance, or draw with Ajax at home, they've got no chance of qualifying, then they've got to just cut it then. Because if they allow him longer, then he gets a League Cup. If he gets to the League Cup final, he's won a trophy already, then you've got to give him longer, then the title possibly would be maybe 3 or 4 games from the end of the season. Then you build up to the Scottish Cup, so you can't give a man the sack it towards the end of the season. If Celtic are going to think, or if they're thinking about changing their manager, they've got to do it just now, while he's not won anything this year.
St Johnstone have gone ahead 2-1 against Kilmarnock at McDermott Park, and also Queen of the South have scored in their match against Dumbarton. Queen of the South 1, Dumbarton 0. Just on that point, Murdo, there is absolutely no doubt, and I think it would be an act of negligence if Peter Lawwell and Dermot Desmond had not had a conversation to suggest, look, if this goes pear-shaped, then we need to start to take evasive action and look at somebody who's available that could come in and do it. I am almost certain in the job that they have that they're looking at it. The other point here is quite simply, it's not a case of looking and dissecting Ronnie Dyler and saying you've signed 19 players, 3 of them started in midweek on the Thursday night. A lot of them are players that you could question whether they've worked out or not, because quite simply the modern game now, the board the scouts, they sign players and say, you're the coach them. That's not unusual for Celtic. That's just the norm around European football now.
It is.
5 or 6 years ago, we were all battering the chief executive because the suggestion was he was signing them. But it's the norm.
It is the norm, and especially in European football. Peter, you've got the general manager or the sporting director, whatever you want to give him his title. He'll go out and look at good players and think, we'll bring him to the football club. But the manager doesn't know anything about it. But he's saying, here's your new centre back, here's your new central midfield player. So the club are actually buying them. Possibly every now and again they'll have a word with the manager. Where do you need a football player? Do you need a new forward? Do you need a new midfielder? So he'll have a bit of communication, but it'll be the technical director who'll go and choose that player.
I'll tell you, Adam Rooney is the man that's put a smile on Roughie's face. I'm looking at him. You can tell Roughie is the nearest thing I could get to an older man who's like a kid in a sweet shop. If something goes right for him, he'll walk into the studio and you can tell by his smile. And Adam Rooney has scored because Roughie has Aberdeen in the treble that we have today, and Aberdeen finally have got the breakthrough. It's taken a bit of time for them to get that breakthrough. 5 minutes into the second half.
Yeah, and it's a strange one to say, you know, although they're winning 1-0. I bet it's a very nervous time to the end of the game, because they'll want to win that game, and until they get the second goal, I don't think it'll be very comfortable. It's been well known fact that they have been losing goals late on in games, so they really need to get that second goal to finish them off.
And you'll never believe it, Roughie, Leicester have scored and they're leading Watford by 1-0, and again he just seems to be at the centre of everything, the goal scorer.
Yeah, he certainly does, there's no doubt about that. I thought Watford were going to be my team that were going to not struggle in relegation. I thought they brought in a complete new team, all foreigners, and so they'll be disappointed with that result, but I still think they won't be relegated.
Well, the teams that went up, Watford are actually the most consistent. Norwich now and Bournemouth are beginning to slip back. See if you see it on a week-by-week basis, Peter. The two of them are going back the way, whereas Watford are actually staying up there and they're on a good run. But so, you know, at least they're doing okay. This would be a bad result if they lost today. Yeah.
Did you see what I tried to do there with Roughie? I made a statement to him as if, you know, and their goal scorer's on red hot form, and he went, he is. You know, and I was really going. No, I was really going. You saying, Vardy's just unstoppable, and I was saying, no, it's Kante.
I've had that hook before.
Absolutely. I have to say,
Forfar are fighting back, Peter. Forfar we're 3-0 down. They're now 3-2.
Oh,
Can he kidder?
Oh no, absolutely not. I mean, if I can go back to many a time when in a previous life it was a classic Derek Johnston line. He'd go, "You never believe who's scored for Newcastle," and the whole team would jump in. Shearer, no, somebody else, and he'd fire out another name. Days gone by, but no, you can't kid Roughie. He's on the case. If he thinks he's going to be hoodwinked, he'll just give you a bland answer. Anyway, Leicester are a goal up, and I mean, it's amazing. They're at the top end of the table in the Barclays Premier League. It's just incredible what Ranieri's doing there with them, and it's a great atmosphere in that stadium.
Yeah, when you look at what happened last season with the manager losing his job and all that kind of stuff, you thought he was doing a really good job, but he's out the door, and you think, goodness, what is that a mistake? But Ranieri coming in, and he just lifted the whole place. And the amount of times you've seen them home and away, Peter, it's not as if they're just good at home. They can go away from home, but they score goals. The atmosphere is great because you see them all come off and a cuddle for the manager all the time. And I think he's got a great relationship with the players. And I think at that level, he's got to have a good relationship with the players. And with that, that's why they're very successful this year.
Do you notice on Friday when they do the English Premiership press conferences with the managers, you can tell the managers who are doing particularly well, because the press conferences have got a bit of humour in them. With Ranieri, he was joking and laughing, then you base over to Chelsea, and then you go to Man United, and you're getting these random, just staring, no humour, no nothing, under pressure. Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to tell Murdo about that. He was well used to that when he was in the management game. There, pressure's what it's all about for managers. I can tell you there's a goal in League 2. It's Arbroath 1, East Fife 1. Let's go to Fir Park, because there have been another call, Gordon Parks, for a penalty?
There was. I think this time again, Motherwell pointing the finger at Craig Thompson because he never pointed to the spot. It was Josh Meekings again. It was a lazy lunge on Liam Polworth claimed the penalty. It looked to me as if he had a decent shout. Thompson turned away, turned a deaf ear to it, gave him the rubber ear, and it hasn't helped warm affection here, which is in short supply for referee Thompson, I have to say.
Yep, I don't think he'll be getting invited to any end-of-season dinners for Motherwell. Craig Thompson, Inverness in a commanding position there, and nice of Gordon Parks just to throw in what I call the the classic schoolboy line. He just gave him a rubber ear. It's magnificent. You get all these great things. I mean, right now I've been looking, I can just think of Roger Bailey and other fine journalists going, rubber ear. I'm not sure I'd put that in my match report. And what I would ask you to do if you get a chance is read Gordon Parks' match report tomorrow in the Sunday Mail and see if he mentions rubber ear in his copy. It will be interesting if he does, Murdo. But
he's got to be strong. That's the way he reported it, so he's got to put that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can just see him, R-U-B-B-E-R, spelling it out to the copy. Other scores in the Premiership, and I can tell you, let's go there. I'm not going to rubber ear him now. Let's get back there to Fir Park. What's happened, Gordon?
As it looks to be game-setting match for Inverness, it's a goal from a fantastic strike. Ian Vigurs takes the ball, controls a volley from a corner from the right-hand side. He rifles it basically into the Connor Ripley's top right-hand corner. It's a fantastic strike, really executed, top quality technique. I have to say, Ian Vigurs seems to have wrapped this up. It's Motherwell 0, Inverness 3.
It'll be interesting talk tomorrow. Mark McGee going to meet the owner. He's going to, is it Barbados, the owner? He's flying out tonight to meet up with the owner, to have a wee chat about the future of the club.
I think we should all go out for that meeting.
I think we should go and help Mark.
It's
PLZSoccer.
I was going to say, it's times like that you really want to take one for the team and go out there with them just to keep them company. Can you imagine the call? I'd like you to come and meet me where Barbados. But with a 3-0
score, Peter.
Yep, absolutely. It's Raith 1, Falkirk 2, and I don't want to take my eye off the ball with regards to Falkirk because suddenly we're looking at Rangers and Hibs, but I think the other clubs, if there's ever an incentive to say to all the players, by the way, they just think we're also Rans. Falkirk, a classic case.
Yeah, but they've been doing that, Falkirk. Even last season, they were still in the equation. They had a really good run last year, and they're doing the exact same. And everybody's just, first Rangers, they've won it by a country mile, and then all of a sudden, Hibs are back in the race. But look at them just behind Hibs. Falkirk are sitting there, and it's a great, if it finishes a victory for them today, it's a really good.
Peter will be hoping that none of his players, because they're watching them all the time. Every time we went to Falkirk, the stand was full of English scouts, you know, so that they've definitely got players there that can be prized away.
But that'll open the gap. If they were to beat Raith today, they go 6 points clear.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously Hibs are going to win today, and Rangers are going to win as well. But so the three of them are going to burst away from the rest of the teams.
Yeah, but I think Raith and Falkirk will still have that gap between themselves and Queen of the South as well. Albeit Queen of the South are in front in their match by a 1-0 against Dumbarton, but it's just shaping up. I mean, you just want to finish fourth, Murdo. Suddenly you're in the playoffs there.
Well, that's a target for the other clubs. Just now, Rangers are hoping they're going to win it. Hibs now, I think they feel as though they can win it, and then the second place play off. But fourth is enough for the rest.
But it would be
it's a great challenge.
But if Raith were to lose this game today, and Morton and Queen of South both win below them, they're quite close. I mean, Queen of South would go a point behind Raith, and Morton would be a point behind them again. So it's very tight. Morton would be, if Morton win today, they go 19 points. Queen of South would be 20, and Raith are 21. So that would be quite tight for fourth spot. The three of them would be fighting for that.
Yeah, I mean, as we just told you there, Falkirk leading by 2-1. John Baird with his 10th of the season. John Baird, Roughie, time and time again on our programme, just said, I just want to play regularly, and I think this club suits him.
Yeah, it's not. I was going to say that again. See it last week, somebody said, I said no doubt about that. I count the many times I say that.
That's 300 now.
That's 300 now.
Today.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we've had him on the show, and he just loves scoring goals. You know, he's been at a few clubs. There's no doubt about that. No way.
You'll say a lot today. You said there's no doubt about it.
No, but there was a point there, Roughie, where I can actually see the wheels in your head thinking, what can I use other than there's no doubt about it? Anyway,
let's just say it's a catchphrase.
Yes.
And then it sees it.
If you get, listen, to be honest with you, if you get a programme out of it in STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow, Brian Roughie, for there's no doubt about it.
A good name for a programme, isn't it? No doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Starring Alan Rough.
But John Baird scored, and Roughie has mentioned that he just wanted to play football on a regular basis. Well, he's got his 10th goal of the season. Of that, there is no doubt. Gordon Smith, Murdo McLeod, and Alan Rough with his Saturday afternoon goals flying in across the country. Give us your thoughts at Peter and Roughie on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Roughie. We'll go back over the Twitter polls that we are putting to you a little later on. We'll give you the latest on that as well. And you can also give us your thoughts on that match tomorrow, Ross County against Celtic, because Jim McIntyre certainly feels confident that they can take the scalp. Is there a fight back on it for Park? Let's go back there now, Gordon Parks.
It came from the blue. Inverness have looked the dominant side, but Lionel Ainsworth, who's been the best route for Motherwell down the right hand side, floated across to the back post. Lewis Malt managed to stab it at the back post. It deflected off Inverness keeper Owen Fawn Williams. They're back in it. There's 2 goals to make up. Inverness still look the dominant side, but there's hope.
Thanks very much to Gordon. He's getting the goals there this afternoon, and across the country, and certainly in the Premiership anyway, there's some interesting scorelines. We offered you a treble today. I picked the High Bees to get the win at St Mirren. That looks fairly straightforward. And my apologies to any St Mirren fans who are offended, but that's just a treble that we're trying to win some money. Gordon Smith decided to go for the Jambos, and Hearts look in control in their match at Tynecastle against Hamilton Accies, and Roughie just at the moment edging it because Aberdeen through Adam Rooney. There it is there. The three of us with our treble today. I wonder if you decided to jump in and think maybe the guys are going to get it right today, and I think we're in not a bad position now, Roughie, since Rooney stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, I would still like to see a second goal going in, and Dundee United will be fighting tooth and nail right to the end. New manager in there, and the Aberdeen will be hoping to see that one out. Yeah,
and what do you make of Ross County, Murdo? Can they surprise Celtic tomorrow? Does that increase any kind of pressure on Ronnie if there was to be a draw or a defeat up there?
Well, it's been strange, Peter, because you look at Celtic's performance in Scotland in the league and the cups. They've been outstanding, and yet in European football they've not been good. They've not been scoring enough goals. Not defensively they've been poor. But I think Ross County are a really well organised side. They're a good team spirit about them. Good managers, assistant manager in place, and they'll work hard at a game plan. And if the players go with the game plan, they'll make it very difficult for Celtic. Because if Celtic are not at the best, they could drop some points. But Celtic, the way they disperse with the Hearts, Dundee United, Aberdeen, very comfortable, good performances, and I think they'll carry that on.
Yeah, there was a surprise slip-up last week for Ross County against Dundee United at Tannadice, because certainly when you consider their league position, it's been fantastic. The run that Jim McIntyre has his side on has been absolutely incredible. We'll look more at that in detail in a moment. I'll give you an update from the Barclays Premier League, because it's a significant goal. Jamie Vardy scored for Leicester City, Roughie. 9 goals, 9 games. I think he's one away from players like Ruud van Nistelrooy, I think, who scored 10. I think maybe even Ian Wright of Arsenal is in that illustrious company as well. It is a tremendous feat from a player, and red hot for him.
Yeah, and he's had the introduction to international football, which surprised everybody. I think the other guy that was sort of promoted like that was Ricky Lambert. Remember, he promoted for Southampton. But certainly
did he not score against Scotland, Lambert?
Yes, he did in the 3-2 game.
And certainly clubs are looking at him, and just remains to be seen. You not like it is down there when a big bid comes in. Sometimes they might not be able to hold on to him.
Yep, Aberdeen have had a corner and Pollitt found Shinnie at the edge of the box, but almost getting a goal to make it 2 there. That certainly would have made our treble comfortable, but it hasn't quite materialised at the moment. Ross County against Celtic tomorrow in the Premiership. Today at Ibrox. Let's go there and get a little update from Derek Clark on Rangers, who were comfortable the last time we heard from you, Derek.
Yeah, approaching the 68th minute mark. It's still Rangers 3, Alloa 0, and it's been so one-sided the second half. It's bordering on dull at the moment. Rangers have made 2 changes. Clark and Shields have come on for Holt and Odua for Alloa. Meanwhile, Duffy's came on for Michael Chopra. And just moments ago, Nicky Clark had a chance that was just cleared off the line. Martin Waghorn did well to get to the byline, cut the ball back. Nicky Clark had a chance towards goal, but it was cleared away from the Alloa defender. So it's still Rangers 3, Alloa 0.
Also, Manchester United have the edge. Lingard has the goal for the Barclays Premier League. Manchester United 1, West Bromwich Albion 0. And still the debate there on a weekly basis whether Rooney is a number 10, whether he's an out-and-out striker, whether he should be in this England squad, whether he should be a Manchester United player or dropped at all. I've never known a man to court so much controversy and opinion from everyone down there.
Yeah, I remember he was getting criticised the other night in the game. I thought he was actually one of the better players for Manchester United. I think that they're finding it hard to find a position for him because I don't think Manchester United are that creative at the moment. I really don't think that in all that they're a really good team. I think they're disappointing when I watch them.
You're probably better watching Salford City the way things are going in the FA Cup at the moment, because
the big win last night.
It was a huge win, you know.
A good goal. The guy scored the winning goal, wasn't it?
Well, I was going to say to you, if you ever want to put out a documentary and then on the back of it get a big win in the FA Cup, talk about timing for those guys.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
I mean, and everything. Every time you see Salford score a goal now, suddenly the camera pans and you see Gary Neville, Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs.
They certainly enjoyed it, didn't they?
Brilliant.
Great, but it was a terrific goal and a really good win, considering the fact. I mean, they have got a bit of publicity because of the guys that are taking the club, but all credit to them to give their time to do something like this. It's amazing.
Tadic has scored for Southampton. They're a goal up, and again, that's another success story down there, Murdo. They have a manager. And now, I'm not for a minute suggesting that they don't have money. They have money, whether they have the money for, to the scale of the top clubs. But they do have a structure in place with a manager, and whether it's a committee down there or not, they've picked players well. They have a good team spirit. Yeah, well, they do. They picked half the Celtic team up. Wanyama, Van Dijk's down there. Van Dijk won Player of the Month.
Did they?
Yesterday, picked up Player of the Month. So clearly, he had something up here in Scottish football. But they're aside that I've got a coach who's just got the team playing the way they should, and I'm not looking at their side and thinking there's any unbelievably great players in it. You're just looking at a good team, a good football team with a good spirit. And the thing about Southampton, home and away, they're comfortable and they'll give everyone a game. And it's not just that they're good enough to beat the teams in the 16 below the top 4. They'll give the top teams, especially at home, they give them a challenge. But just well organised, people like Wanyama in the middle of the park, because you always kind of follow their fortunes once they leave Celtic. And he's been outstanding in there. You see him against Man City and teams like that, and he holds his own. In the middle of the park, then he loves the 50-50 challenges. He's a good touch on the ball. He'll just keep possession of the ball. Just do everything simple.
He does well.
And the way Koeman's got the whole side organised, keep the ball. Don't give up.
He's done well because he lost a few players. I mean, they sold a few players on Southampton, so he had to build a team. And I think Ron Koeman's done really well. Can I ask you on the basis of football matches? Do you think fans influence football matches in any way? Do they influence them in terms of when your fans are behind the crowd, or whether they're booing you and can affect you and all that sort of thing? I think they can do it to a certain extent. They can influence players on the field. Roughie?
Yeah, I have seen occasions when fans have given a particular player a bad time, and the rest of the team, I think, react to it. Because you don't want to see one of your own mates, getting any bad from the fans.
Yeah, there's method in my questioning, Roughie, because apparently the Leicester City fans, when they got a penalty, didn't like the choice of who was the penalty kick taker, booed until they gave the ball to Vardy, because Mahrez is usually the penalty kick taker. So clearly they wanted Vardy to keep this run going. And Vardy goes up and takes the penalty, which I think is fantastic, because this is a bit of history that the boy will never forget for the rest of his life.
But you know yourself, Peter, see the player himself, he'll be thinking, I'd love to take this penalty, but I'm not the penalty taker. And if I run over and the commotion that we've seen so often, trying to grab the ball off the penalty taker and put it down and you miss it, then you're the villain. So he's maybe thinking, I'll just step aside here. But it's a great opportunity to get the goal, so he's got to go and take it.
It's fantastic. What about the capital city, Tynecastle? Craig Turnbull is watching Hearts against Hamilton Accies.
Yes, Hearts 2, Hamilton Accies now. Hearts looking really in control of this match, really organised and well drilled. They actually came close to scoring a third just moments ago. It was good play from substitute Miguel Pallardo, who played the ball into Osman Sow. He cut in onto his right foot and it took a good save from McGovern just to tip it round the post. But Hearts in control here. It's Hearts 2, Hamilton 0.
You see, that's a great thing about having options. Suddenly Pallardo is in the side, looks a good cultured player. They've got Arnaud Djoum, the Belgian midfielder, in there as well. They have options, Gordon, that suggest to me that they, maybe we've taken our eye off the ball here. Maybe they're the team that can sustain a...
It's a good point. Aberdeen have just gone 2-0 up. Roughies in a very happy mood now. See that smiling face there. Well done.
It's for us all.
Well done.
It's for us all.
Well, I don't think it's going to change our lives fundamentally, Roughie.
You quite pleased to take Dundee then? Is that okay?
I'm more than happy with that. Thanks very much for that, Gordon.
Absolutely.
I'm a boring statistician.
Well, 2-0 up, and again that stops the Rock Murdo for the Dons.
Yeah, without a doubt, because I felt if it was a 1-0 going towards the last 10 minutes, United, a wee bit of spirit about them after the 3 points last week against Ross County, then it would have been a kind of worrying time for them. But now they've got the second goal, I think they'll be comfortable. They might even go and nick another one.
I thought when you were saying it stops the rot, I thought you were talking about Roughie's prediction.
Oh no.
No. And by the way, that's my catchphrase. Stop using it.
There's so many people.
There's no doubt about it.
I don't know if you mentioned that, but I meant to ask you guys: has there ever been a situation where you've been involved in a flashpoint in a dressing room, where you've been involved in a fight, or you've had a wee bit of feistiness on the training pitch? Murdo, if you say no, I'll fall off this chair.
No, I'll write it in a book at some point.
I've had some arguments. Nothing leading to a fight, but just some arguments about things that's happened. I don't think you can avoid that. Everybody gets that.
The usual handbags. You know what I mean? Even in training. Because we used to, in the five-a-sides was always, there was an edge to it all the time.
Yes.
On Friday morning, and you're desperate to win it, because it was usually a fiver. You'd pick somebody in the opposition team and you'd have the fiver bet to see who was going to win the game. So everybody's out full pelt, and then if somebody was giving the ball away cheaply, you'd have a go at them in your own team and all that kind of thing. So there was one or two, it got a wee bit.
You do wonder sometimes at half time, there has been fights in the dressing room, and you're sitting there and you wonder, why would you want to fight with him? Why are you rolling about with him? I don't pick somebody you're inside.
I often think that when I play six-a-sides with Alec Ray. I think, can you imagine being in an 11-a-side bounce game for the training with Alec Ray? And I'm just looking at you and I'm automatically thinking to myself, Roy Aitken.
Big Roy.
And I'm thinking that training. And I'm looking at your side and I'm actually thinking Alec MacDonald.
Yeah, there was one or two arguments there. But one of the best arguments I had was, I remember it was Man City I was at the time, and they came in at half time, and Billy McNeil had a go at Mick McCarthy, and Mick McCarthy had a go back, and Billy McNeil said something else, and then Billy McNeil said, your problem, you've always got to have the last word in every argument. Mick McCarthy went, I don't have to have the last word in every argument. He goes, you do, every argument you have, you always get the last word. He says, no, I don't have that. And he goes, you're doing it again, you're having the last word. He said, no, I'm not. And it was all that, how long is this going to go on for here? It was going to go on. And Jimmy Frizzell, the assistant, had to step in and pull him apart. It was unbelievable. It was so funny.
Most of the problems in the dressing room, very rarely was there a punch made connection to
Yes.
who you were arguing with. It was always players just got up face to face and ready to try and have a punch,
Yeah.
and you're just hoping your teammates are pulling you back and all this
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
Because you don't want to hit someone like that, but it just gets to the point. They just get together and then it just calms down. But see, sometimes it clears the air.
Yeah.
If there's been a problem, Alan, you know yourself on the pitch, and it clears the air, and then it goes out, and then everybody starts fighting for the team, not against each other.
Yeah.
It was funny you mentioned Alec Ray there. We had a charity football game with just supporters, but you were allowed two ex-football players. I picked Alec to be my ex-football player, and he was playing against the guys, and one wee guy just sort of nutmegged him in the first 5 minutes. The next time he tried to nutmeg, the boy was walking off the park on a stretcher.
Only once.
Only once.
Yeah, well, I was
Only
going to say
once.
to you, but I'll counter that by saying he was actually a very, very good player, top drawer player. But again, you know, there's an edge to it. You always want to win games, and he certainly comes into that category. Let's have a look at the way things are shaping up here. Hibs are 4-1 up now against St Mirren, and I'm not going to say I expected it. I expected a comfortable win for them today, Gordon.
Yeah, I did. I thought Hibs would win the game, definitely on the form, because funnily enough, in the last 12 games, the only points that Hibs have dropped were actually against St Mirren at home. Funnily enough, they drew at home in the game, but apart from that, they've had 11 wins, and you've got to say, great form. They've gone there today off the back when they must be on a high, having beaten Rangers. They would know Rangers were going to win today too. That's the thing. Hibs would know they had to get a result to keep within points.
Sending off at Ibrox. Let's go there now. Derek Clark.
Yeah, Alloa's afternoon has gone from bad to worse. Eddie Ferns has just been given a straight red. It looked like an off-the-ball incident with the news that Jordan Thompson, who came on for Rangers. Thompson went in for a tackle with Ferns, and he must have just lashed out, Ferns, so he's been given a straight red from referee Stephen Finney. So he goes marching up the tunnel here. So Alloa down to 10 men, and they trail by 3-0.
Still a bit to go, Murdo. I would suggest that there could be a few more goals added now. There's nothing worse. 10 men and you're 3 down.
Yeah, sometimes that happens because we're hearing that the games went a wee bit flat just now, but a sending off always kind of spurs the game up a wee bit and players start getting in about each other, because the Alloa players will be thinking, well, that's one off, we'll need to fight a wee bit more, so it might get a wee bit feisty.
Yeah, let's go to the Premiership latest scores then, give you an insight into what's happening in Scotland. Here's how it looks in the Premiership in Scotland. Aberdeen 2-0 up now in Dundee United. Thistle still edging it by that solitary goal. Hearts 2-0 up on Hamilton Accies. Motherwell 1, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 3, and St Johnstone 2, Kilmarnock 1. Let's go to Fir Park, because we thought maybe with the Ainsworth getting involved in the fight back, there might be a chance for Motherwell to get another one. Any signs of it, Gordon Parks?
Well, it was certainly a game that looked out of sight for Motherwell, but like I said earlier on, Lewis Moult's dragged them back into it. There's a 2-goal margin for them if we try and breach now, and I have to say that Stephen Pearson should have done much better. He should have buried a great chance he had. He was driving inside the box, he got a glimpse of goal, he fired his effort over. To be honest, he should be doing much better with that, but Motherwell sparked into life. Ainsworth has been a catalyst for things that have been better for them, but they're definitely pressing now. Inverness seem content to sit in and try and take the points the way they are just now, but there's certainly hope for a Motherwell side to look revitalised after a kind of spell where they looked well out of it.
Okay, so Inverness still in command there, 3-1. James Keatings with a hat-trick today. Murdo, that will do his confidence the world of good.
Well, without a doubt, any striker, when you get a hat-trick, that's the kind of pinnacle for the season for them. They go for the match ball, and it's a nice thing to have, and it's great when you look at the stats and the top goal scorers, and you're there, and it's after a short space of time scoring so many goals. But I think for any striker to get hat-tricks, that's top class.
But as you touched on it, Peter, he's got fans to win over.
Yeah,
you know,
well, that's the thing, isn't
and
it?
that's how you win them over. You know, by getting them on your side.
Yeah. And if you've got the title in the bag as well, he'll be one of those rare players. If Hibs were to win the title this season, suddenly he would have won it with Hearts and Hibs.
Yeah, I mean
that would be unusual.
It would be very unusual. I mean, albeit it's the Championship. I mean, my namesake, we spoke about earlier on, players who played for both teams, and he won the title with both teams, the top title, Gordon Smith for Hibs and Hearts, which is incredible. Nobody will ever do that again. He also won it for Dundee.
Yeah.
Has she just been blown out of the water then? If it's a top title, we've been one already.
Well,
top title.
The funny thing is, I actually knew that Gordon Smith had won it for 3 separate clubs in the top flight. But the funny thing is, I was waiting on Gordon there because he said, you know, my namesake, and we were at a Hibs do Bordeaux. We were at a Hibs do 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Gordon was up there speaking in front of the Hibs fans, and he said, and of course, I have something in common with Hibs. He says because my namesake also played for Hibs. A guy shouted, "Who? Eddie Turnbull?"
You're a bit mixed up with the word namesake.
Thanks for explaining that to us.
I got a bit mixed up.
I couldn't believe it. But nevertheless.
I mean, let's be honest. He did something to win the title with 3 different teams.
Yeah.
And none of them be Neil Fimber, though.
Yeah.
He's one player. If I was talking about players in Scottish football that you wish you had seen, he's one player I wish I'd seen Motherwell to try and get a real sense of how good a player he was.
Yeah. I think Peter, I'd have loved to have seen some of the olden players, them all.
Yes.
No, never mind just picking out one, because I think there were so many top class players.
Yeah.
And it's sadly I don't think we've got a lot of top class players now.
Well, my dad thought he was great. That's why he named me. He named me actually after him, because my dad thought he was a great player, and my dad was not a Hibs fan or anything like that. But my dad just thought, like, same name, and decided to give me a football name, and that's how I got it.
So that's amazing, isn't it?
He was a great player.
It is, and you were named after a warrior, Murdo MacLeod.
From Skye.
Yeah, absolutely.
From Tree in Skye.
Is that right, Murdo? Is that where they're from?
That's where my dad was brought up,
Yeah, absolutely. And you came back here to civilization to be with us on a huge stage. And a big hello to all you guys at BBC out there. We've got him. It's a 2-year deal. For a noise up. Murdo MacLeod here with Gordon Smith. So it's like a BBC gathering from old days, isn't it? Only we're stopping them from giving us 3.5 hours of an answer when 1 minute would do. Alan Rough is here with us as well. And what an afternoon. Let's look at the Championship. I think we...
Dundee have equalised.
Well, I'll tell you, let's just quickly get that thought on the latest there in the Championship. Morton 1, Livingston 0, Queen of the South 1, Dumbarton 0, Wraith Rovers 1, Falkirk 2, Rangers 3 up and Alloa down to 10 men, St Mirren 1, Hibernian 4, and Dundee have equalised, Roughie, that dreaded equaliser that you didn't want to see.
You know, I often worry about Alan Archibald when he goes to sleep after games, how many games his team's not been able to see games out. No, just thinking about
worry
games.
about Alan Archibald when he goes to sleep after the game.
I do. I mean, how many games? How many games?
I think he wanted it you after you go to sleep.
I do, I actually do, because you can see the strains beginning to get to him. There must have been at least 10, 11 times when his team's been winning and they can't see a game out. And you know what like is after a game, everything's going through your mind when he sleeps. Everything gets through your mind.
One thing I always think about Thistle, they play an awful lot of good football and they don't get rewards up the other end. And hanging on at 1-0, you just felt if they can't get a second goal,
scoring goals
Gordon, if they get a second goal, they win the game. But now Dundee will be pushing forward to get the winner.
Yeah, well, 6 minutes left in that match with that equaliser there. So Kane Hemmings scoring the goal, that's his 5th of the season. I just think maybe Paul Hartley was hoping for more from his 3 strikers that had that pedigree at the lower leagues. Loy, Hemmings and Stewart. I think Stewart early on in the season was flying.
Well, I think that it all was based on the first game. Remember the first game they beat Kilmarnock? They were 4-0 up, I think, at half time, and there was outstanding. Everyone said Dundee are going to be the team, and yet they've never kept it going. They've been very, very inconsistent. And you're right, they probably did expect more out of these guys. Hemmings is a good player. He started at Rangers, went away. Was it Berwick he went to after that, and he did well?
I think he was. Did he not go to Cowdenbeath?
Was it Cowdenbeath? Was that? Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, Cowdenbeath. Then he went down south. Never quite worked out for him, but he's a decent player. I mean, as I say, he's equalised today. But you're right, and Loy has had injury problems, so they've not really played the way most of us predicted. I mean, if they were to win today, I was looking at it earlier on, they probably would go top 6 again if they could win today. But at the moment, there's still 5 minutes to go, and it's just a draw.
Yeah, and the great thing about footballers is sometimes they can answer a question by saying nothing. And I remember Kane Hemmings winning the Player of the Year last year, Murdo, on loan at Cowdenbeath. And I did mention to him, I said, it's such a great season for you with all the lads here, and you've enjoyed it. Would you like to obviously extend your stay here? And there was just that pause to look at me, and the pause just said, don't be stupid. I'm moving on. Wave goodbye to the players that I'm with. Take the award and move on.
He was a gentleman. He just gave me a nice reply.
Who was the other player when you said you've had a fantastic season? I suppose you'd like to thank the rest of your players for that. And he went, why?
Exactly. It was the guy who won the award for Airdrieonians. And he's a big, tall, good-looking guy. It could have been a model, and his name has completely escaped me. But I said to him a couple of years ago, and you'd obviously like to thank your teammates. You've obviously helped you win this award. Oh no, there was none of that,
So Johnson down to 10 men, Peter.
Yep, and down to 10 men, but can they hold on for what would be a good win for Tommy Wright's side there? So still at this moment, as I look at the Premiership, Inverness are all set for all 3 points in that division. Certainly Hearts are looking good. Dundee have got the equaliser, and also St Johnstone down to 10 men, but 2-1 in front. Let's look at the latest in the Barclays Premier League as well to see how it's all shaping up. Of course, the full time from earlier: Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 1, Leicester 2-1 up in Watford. Manchester United still leading by a goal to 0 against West Brom. It's Norwich 1, Swansea 0, Sunderland 0, Southampton 1, and West Ham 1, Everton 1. Stoke against Chelsea kicks off at 5:30. Jose Mourinho will be nowhere near the dugout. Jose Mourinho will be nowhere near his team. He won't be even allowed in the stadium. So he's going to be somewhere else. And the way technology, I was going to say, the way technology works at the moment, Murdo, he could have a walkie-talkie.
Without a doubt.
He's got a band.
He actually made a statement, said I'll be making the substitutions.
Yeah, absolutely.
He also said he hid in the kit bag once the last time he went to
Yeah.
he went in the kit box, he said. He actually said that, and he hid, and he's admitted that. He's come out and said it. But today, as you say, with the modern technology, he could run the game from his house.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about that kit bag, when you actually get in it, Murdo, you're just hoping that they've put the holes exactly where you said. The zip goes up, and then
where's the gap?
Well, not only that, can you imagine Jose's face if it was a few weeks ago and he gets into the kit bag and the physio is zipping it up?
Padlocking it.
Yeah, absolutely. League One. Let's have a look at the latest there in Scotland. Albion Rovers Cowdenbeath was postponed earlier. Brecon City 1, Ayr United 1. I don't think I saw that coming. I thought Ayr United would get a win today. Dunfermline 0, Peterhead 0. Forfar 2, Airdrie 3. Is there a dramatic late equaliser there? Stranraer 0, Stenhousemuir 2. In Scottish League 2, let's have a look at the latest in that division. Arbroath 1, East Fife 1, Berwick Rangers 1, Stirling Albion 2, Clyde 3, Montrose 1, East Stirling 2, Queen's Park 1, and Elgin City 3, Annan Athletic 1. I didn't see that scoreline either, Murdo, because Annan have been going so well.
Yeah, it's top of the table, and you just felt it's always tough though. No, it's a long journey up for them as well, which doesn't help because I don't imagine they went up the night before and spent the money in the hotels.
Well, Jim Chapman said to me, Murdo, he says he'd never known a division like it. Possibly League One and League Two. Everybody's capable of beating everybody else. You just can't get sometimes that level of consistency from players for whatever reason.
Oh, well, it's always difficult, Peter. Remember, all these boys are out working hard day in, day out, doing a 9 till 5 job, and then they're training at night, a couple of nights a week, 3 nights a week. And a lot of them, as you know, Peter, over the last few years, it's not as if you get the same squad year in, year out. Just about every player leaves a football club now, and it's all new players coming in. So then you're looking further afield, and players are travelling all the time. So you're going to get players that's just there for a year, and back out the football club.
They were the only team that had opened up the gap, weren't they? And everyone else was beating each other, and they were all really tight. As I said before, 6 points separating second top and second bottom, but Annan were getting themselves clear, and you think, oh, they could go on a run there and finish it off. And that's them losing today. They're going to lose the game today, 3-1.
Well, I'll tell you, West Brom had a man sent off, and from the resultant penalty, Manchester United 2-0 up. And I can tell you there's a goal at Ibrox. Let's go there now. Derek Clark.
Yeah, it's Rangers 4, Alloa 0 in stoppage time. It's substitute Nicky Clark with the goal. It was a James Tavernier cross into the box, and Nicky Clark simply headed it into the corner of the net past Andy McNeil to make it Rangers 4, Alloa 0.
Not bad for Nicky Clark, 4th goal of the season. I always feel, Roughie, at times he's almost reduced to a bit part player, such as the goal scoring prowess of Martin Wycon.
Yeah. Excuse me, when he was brought for Queen of the South, he certainly looked a part. He looked as a player that Rangers didn't have, you know, and it looked as if he needed to play off somebody. Yeah. He needed to be off maybe John Daly or something like that. But you're right, I don't think he has really lived up to the expectations. I think obviously he might be one of these players, you know, who come into a team coming for Queen of the South and maybe can't handle the pressure that goes along with playing with Rangers and having to score every
The thing was, Roughie, they also brought in Boyd and Miller at the time when he was there too, didn't they? There was two experienced. Obviously, him and Daly were the two sort of secondary strikers, and then now Miller's still there.
Yeah, let's go to Ibrox full time. Derek Clark.
Yeah, full time here at Ibrox. It's finished Rangers 3, Alloa 0 as the Wasps' 92-year unbeaten league record at Ibrox comes to an end in one of the most one-sided games you'll ever likely to see. Martin Wycon opened the scoring after 10 minutes with a right-footed volley from just outside the area after a poor clearance from Alloa keeper McNeil. James Tavernier doubled their advantage 3 minutes later with a trademark free kick in what was his 10th goal of the campaign. Wycon scored his second and Rangers' third on 44 minutes when he connected with a Barry Mackay cross to volley past McNeil in the Alloa goal. The second half was pretty much a non-event. Rangers dominated proceedings. Wycon could have scored 4 goals but for 2 goal line clearances and 2 good saves from the Wasps keeper, and Nicky Clark put the icing on the cake with a stoppage time header. Alloa were never really in the game and they had to play with 10 men for the final 15 minutes when Eddie Ferns was shown a straight red for a stamp on Rangers substitute Jordan Thompson. But it was a run-of-the-mill straightforward win for Mark Warburton's men. It's finished here at Ibrox. Rangers 4, Alloa 0.
So Derek Clark will go down and get the thoughts of the managers and come back up. So a comfortable win in the end, and I don't think it's any great surprise. They were red hot favourites with the bookies. The odds were the most unbelievable I think we've seen in many a long year, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think there'd be much money getting put on Rangers today, that's for sure, right, at the odds they were given. But you expect them to win. I mean, Alloa are having a bad time. They're bottom of the league at the moment. They're getting pretty much isolated down there. And you know, they have to get things going if they're going to fight for their survival. But we always thought it would be comfortable for Rangers because they were going to fight back and bounce back from last week's defeat.
In the Premiership, Aberdeen 2-0 winners, and I can tell you it's Hearts 2, Hamilton 0. Man of the match for Aberdeen has been just been announced. Johnny Hayes, who put in a superb performance today. Adam Rooney opened the scoring, and then Hayes added the second for the Dons. So again, it's going to be a hard slog for Mixu Patalainen's side, but Derek McInnes' team are able to bounce back. And as we mentioned there, Hearts will still retain their place in second in the table. It looks as if we're heading into the last few seconds of the game at Fir Park. We'll keep you up to date with what's happening there, but Inverness will get all 3 points there too. Full-time scores coming up in the next few minutes. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo McLeod are with me, Peter Martin, full-time across the country. Aberdeen get a 2-0 win. Rooney and Hayes with the goals there. Partick Thistle, as you can see, were a goal up through Liam Lindsay, but the equaliser from Kane Hemmings' share of the spoils. Hearts 2, Hamilton 0, Motherwell 1, Inverness 3 and St Johnstone 2, Kilmarnock 1. Let's go to Fir Park to get that full-time report from Gordon Parks.
Well, we're still playing here, plenty of huff and puff from our Motherwell side that are trying to battle their way back into this game. To be honest, it had to happen sooner than now. They had to get something back. Referee Craig Thompson's just issued a red card. It's unclear who's actually pointing towards, but he's ending the game the way he started it. Controversial, it's been controversial from Thompson from start to finish. We're still playing here. It's Stephen McManus who was judged to have given the handball away, which allowed Inverness to let it take the lead through Greg Tansey. Stephen McManus, Motherwell skipper, makes his way towards the tunnel. Controversial moments, but we aren't finished here.
Okay, Motherwell 1, Inverness 3, my apologies. We'll come back to Gordon. Let's go to Tynecastle. Craig Turnbull.
Yes, Peter, finished here at Tynecastle. Hearts 2, Hamilton Accies now, and Hearts now moved within 3 points of the leaders Celtic. It was a pretty comfortable victory, it has to be said. They opened the scoring through Prince Blabin with a long range effort that beat McGovern. All ends up from just outside the box. There's a great chance for Accies to try and level when Dougie Imrie whipped in a free kick, and it was Lucas who got his head onto the ball, but it's a great cracking save from Alexander. Hearts then confirmed the victory when it was Jejum who got the second goal just before half time. Osman Soul showed great composure in the box to lay the ball into the path of the Belgium, and from 4 yards he couldn't really miss. The only concern for Hearts was that Sam Nicholson went off in the second half with a knock, so he might be some concern for the Scotland under-21 game against Ukraine this week coming up. But full time here at Tynecastle, Hearts 2, Accies 0.
Let's quickly go to Fir Park. Gordon Parks with a full time.
Yeah, we're finished here at Fir Park. It's Motherwell 1, Inverness 3. And the Highlanders, to be fair, were more than good value for a rare win on the road this season. It's only a second time they've won on their travels. Mark McGee still waits for a first home win in his second term as manager here. But to be honest, referee Craig Thompson's the talking point from start to finish. He was the guy who was guilty of asking Greg Tansey to retake a first half penalty. He did, he scored from the second time of asking. Mel Story added another. Ian Vigers added a spectacular third. It looked to put the game out of sight for an Inverness side who then went and lost a goal to Lewis. Motherwell staged a late fight back. It wasn't enough. We finish here at Fir Park. Motherwell 1, Inverness 3.
Good stuff from Gordon Parks. We'll hear from Gordon once he gets the thoughts of both managers. Certainly, I think Mark McGee will have to choose his words carefully on the referee Craig Thompson. So Motherwell still looking for that first home win for Mark McGee. Just looking, it looks as if St Johnstone 3 points, O'Halloran and Kane 2-1 win over Kilmarnock there. So a good 3 points for St Johnstone and Tommy Wright's side. More reaction from the full times right across Scotland next. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Good wins today in the Premiership for Aberdeen, Hearts, Inverness and St Johnstone. In League Championship League, beg your pardon, it was a good and emphatic and convincing win for Rangers. 4-0 against Alloa. Still a 5-point difference, so St Mirren 1, Hibernian 4. A hat-trick from James Keatings in that match for Alan Stubbs' side. A good win at New St Mirren Park. Falkirk maintain their pressure at the top as well. Wraith Rovers 1, Falkirk 2, Queen of the South 1, Dumbarton 0 and Morton 1, Livingston 0. What about the full-time scores from League One? No game today, Albion Rovers Cowdenbeath. It was a late call-off because of a waterlogged pitch. Brecon City 1, Ayr United 1, Dunfermline 0, Peterhead 0, Forfar 2, Airdrie 3, Stranraer 1, Stenhousemuir 2, and in Scottish League 2, the full-time scores from that division are Broth 1, East Fife 1, Berwick Rangers 1, Stirling Albion 2, Clyde 3, Montrose 1, East Stirling 2, Queen's Park 1, and Elgin City 3, Annan Athletic 2. Good win there for Elgin. In the Barclays Premier League, Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 1, Leicester 2, Watford 1, Manchester United 2, West Brom 0, Norwich 1, Swansea 0, Sunderland 0, Southampton 1, and West Ham 1, Everton 1. Stoke against Chelsea kicks off at 5:30. A word for James Keatings, a word for your old side Hibernian. Murdo, that is a good win today.
Yeah, for me that's the result that jumps out from the Scottish games today, because it was always going to be tough. St Mirren with Alec Miller in as assistant manager as well. Everybody's talking about it, new coach in, but Hibs, after beating Rangers last week, to go away from home, to play against St Mirren away from home, and 1-0 down, and to come back and score 4 goals, it's just a great return, and that'll lift the atmosphere in the whole ground. You know, when they go back to Easter Road, everybody will be happy, and they know it wasn't a flash in the pan beating Rangers. They know to go to St Mirren as well, because St Mirren at some point will get stronger this season, but it's a great 3 points away from home. And
as you mentioned earlier in the programme, Gordon, Alston and Baird scored for Falkirk. They've got a 6-point gap now on Wraith Rovers in third place.
Yeah, that's a good win for them, because obviously they beat Wraith earlier in the season at home. They beat them 1-0, but Wraith have all been up there competing with Falkirk for that third spot at the moment, and that's a very good result for Falkirk, because they were down there 2-1-0 down, and they fought back. And as you say, Peter, the gap there, that's built a 6-point gap now between third and fourth. So although the 4 places are up for grabs, it's a bad result from Wraith's point of view, because it allows Queen and South and Morton to catch up with them. So there's a fight on there for that 4th spot with the 3 teams that are in there together.
The Championship is shaping up really to be, a cracker. As we'll head into the festive period, all eyes will be on Rangers and Hibs, and of course, as Gordon Smith mentioned there, Falkirk as well. We'll be keeping your eye on them almost certainly. We'll be giving you the results of our poll very shortly as well on Rangers and Celtic. It was the burning questions from Rangers and Celtic all through this week. We'll give you the answer to that, and we'll get reaction from the matches across Scotland and England. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. An afternoon when the Aberdeen fans are celebrating getting back to winning ways. They get a 2-0 win today up in Pittodrie against Dundee United. Adam Rooney scoring Johnny Hayes. Hayes getting the man of the match. Couldn't separate them in the match up there at Dens Park between Dundee and Partick Thistle. The Jags had taken the lead, and then it was Kane Hemmings with a late equaliser for Dundee in a share of the spoils. That was the only match which had a point, because we had a good win for Hearts, which keeps them hot on the trail of Celtic. They defeated Hamilton Accies by 2-0. It was Motherwell 1, Inverness 3. The referee certainly annoyed most of the home fans there, and St Johnstone 2, Kilmarnock 1. And as far as the Premiership is concerned, of the results today, I'm just looking at Hearts. And I'm wondering, Roughie, if we've maybe taken our eye off the ball here on this one. Could it be Hearts now that all the pressure is heaped on to try and sustain some sort of challenge to Celtic?
No, I don't think Hearts will look at it that way. I think Hearts coming into the league would be looking for a good league position at the end of it. You know, I think if they begin the season, if they thought they could get a wee shot at Europe, maybe a really good cup run, maybe a cup final, and maybe winning it, that would be a fantastic season for them. I don't think at the beginning of the season they would have sat down and said second place is where we want to be. But certainly they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, let me suggest to you, Murdo MacLeod, that if Celtic were to slip up against Ross County tomorrow and 3 points was suddenly the difference between Celtic and Hearts, the whole of the media would go into meltdown and start focusing on Tynecastle.
Yeah. Aberdeen would just be pushed to the side, not to mention that Hearts are there. But they're there in merit, Peter. And I'm delighted they're there because of what they've been doing over the last 2 seasons to get themselves back. Because to romp in the First Division last year was fantastic. Do you know what I mean? They just kept on going, no matter, and Rangers were slipping up, Hibs were slipping up, but they just kept on going. And then they've got themselves up, and now they're sitting second top. So you're looking about and they're saying, there's Aberdeen, had been on good runs, they're above them now. But if Celtic do drop anything tomorrow, it's still going to be the same outcome at the end of the season. Hearts just now, I think Robbie Nielsen was talking about top 6 was going to be their aim, their success. I think now they've got to be looking towards European football.
I think you're right, Murdo, because if you look at it now, they built if you take the top 4, St Johnstone now are almost clear. They're one of the few teams also with 20 odd points. Celtic at 30 odd, and then you've got the other 2. But then there's from 5th spot on 18 points, there's an 11-point gap now to Hearts. So they've got an 11-point gap. That's like 4. They need to lose 4 while any of these other teams are winning 4, and I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Hearts are keyed up. I mean, I think we tipped Peter at the beginning of the season. We said Hearts 3rd.
Yes.
I thought Hearts would be 3rd place, yeah.
But what's going to happen with Hearts? They'll lose the odd game, but I don't see them going in a slump and losing 4 and 5 in a row. Yeah. I think they'll be very consistent, and I think they'll be comfortable in the top 6, and I think they'll be comfortable maybe top 4 for the rest of the season, even top 3, I think. And I think it will be a good battle between them and Aberdeen for second spot.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because a lot of Hearts fans will look at this and think, 3 points, the difference at the moment, the game tomorrow. They'll be watching the Ross County Celtic match with great interest, Roughie. This is a club that I think something, £680,000 of a loss. They've reduced their debt by £1.5 million, and you have a board that will clearly back the manager in the January transfer window. You know, sometimes, and I think we're all guilty of it in the media, sometimes you don't want anybody to spend money they don't have. You certainly don't want clubs to go down the road that they went down over the last 10 years, which has taken them over the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
But you wonder if they will think to themselves, might speculate on a couple of players just to really make this interesting.
Well, it would make it interesting depending on what kind of money they're going to spend, but in the evidence of the 2 last Celtic Hearts games, there is a gap. Celtic absolutely hammered them at Parkhead, although it was nothing each, and the 2-0 win was comfortable at Tynecastle. So I don't know what kind of money they would have to spend to challenge Celtic, so I would rather save my money and go for Europe.
I don't think they'll be doing it to challenge Celtic. I think realistically they'll be looking at it and thinking they can't compete with Celtic.
Yeah.
I think they'll see that. And I thought they were quite right at the beginning of the season to set their goal as top 6.
Yeah.
You know, because then in above that, then it's an achievement. Then top 6 is where they should have been going for. And for me now already, they're well on their way to top 6.
Yeah, here's the table as it stands at the moment in the Premiership in Scotland. Celtic out in front, 3 points the difference between themselves and Hearts. Then it's Aberdeen, just a point further back. And then, as Gordon Smith was pointing out, St Johnstone and 23. And then a little gap. There's a middle section of clubs all close to each other. Ross County, Hamilton, Dundee, Inverness, and I suppose Kilmarnock with Motherwell, Partick Thistle and Dundee United in those bottom 3 positions after the results today. So that's how the Premiership table looks. I can tell you that just because of the nature of the whole thing, we all know that everybody has tipped Celtic to win the league, but the whole focus and the way we work in the media is to look at it and try and make this as interesting as possible. And I will tell you right now, if there are any slip-ups in the next couple of weeks, it's a strange game football, Murdo. Suddenly, you know, people in Edinburgh, fans, you know, Hearts fans of mine that are friends, will be looking and saying, have a wee go here, you know, buy a couple of players, shore up the defence, do something, because they don't rate the mate. I mean, we're looking at the moment, they probably don't rate, you know, a Celtic side that everybody says they're going to win it, but they're not out of sight.
No.
But the biggest plus point from the Celtic point of view, domestically they've been very good. European football, they've struggled, but there's no one else in Scottish football, in European football, apart from Celtic. So I think you've got to push that to the side. And Ronnie Deila is going to get judged on the way he plays here and the way he plays in Europe. And it's been a failure in Europe, and he's been a success in Scottish football. So that's how I'm saying, if the board are thinking about a change at that level, they've got to make sure, right, if we're going to make a change, it's now after the Ajax game. If they win against Ajax, they've got to think, well, we'll need to wait till the next game because you might qualify. And if he doesn't qualify, and then you've got to say, right, that's it. So he's not won any trophies this season, and someone else will need to come in and start reshaping a side. And they've got a semi-final of the League Cup coming up, they've got the Scottish Cup run coming up, and going on to win the title. So that's Celtic, that's the way forward. If not, Ronnie's got to get right through to the end of the season. If he gets to the end of the season, Peter, I think he'll start the next season.
And you have to remember as well, if our Hearts are challenging Celtic around about January, Celtic will just go and buy 3 of their players.
Well, to be honest with you, you might laugh about it, but I genuinely, and I've said this from you know, a good couple of months back to you, Gordon, the 31st of January will give us as clear a picture as you could ever wish to see for the league table, because that'll be the day after they've played Aberdeen at Pittodrie. And if this gap here at the moment you know, is not as big as 6 points, you know, again, you're looking at it saying it gets nervy. It gets to the point where the transfer window has closed. You look at where they are on the table, you assess the fallout from the European campaign as well, Murdo. And you know, this move into the festive period is massive for them. You're absolutely right. Yeah, they have been unimpressive for them, but they're not out of sight.
And it's going to be a massive test for the manager, the Celtic manager, if they go out the Europa Cup. There's going to be enormous pressure on, and the crowds are going to drift. You know, the players are going to have a wee drop in form. Then he'll be the manager if he can lift them and get them back on.
But you know, it doesn't matter about what I think football's all about these days. Is quite simply, you know, if you are a marketing person, and I know how difficult it is, and I know how difficult it is for the marketing team at Celtic and the marketing team at Rangers and a lot of other clubs that I speak to who have to work hard in different ways. But if you lose, and all I would say to you is this, Murdo, study the evidence. I've listened to every pundit and their granny saying, you know, it could all be transformed if Celtic win against Ajax and Fenerbahce. I haven't seen any evidence in that team's performances in Europe to suggest that's even possible.
No. Peter, seeing the big picture just now, everyone's talking about the manager. For me, looking at more closely, you've got to look at that Celtic team, the way they played. I think the way they played, for me personally, that was one of the worst ever European performances at Celtic Park I've ever witnessed. First half, I thought that they were quite good getting forward. They get the 2 goals disallowed, Peter. Then up the other end, 1-0 down, got the equaliser, 2-1 down. But see the second half, they're out and they're strolling about and they're keeping possession, knocking across the halfway line from right back across the back 4 to left back. And going nowhere.
Do you know
and no urgency about them, Gordon.
But do you know what I found? I actually said that when I was talking last night about it. I thought that Celtic played well first half. They didn't get the breaks, obviously 2 goals disallowed, but I felt as the game went on, I saw a lack of confidence in the players, and there was a fear factor, and I'm telling you, a lot of the time they were just making simple passes because they weren't wanting to do anything that was dangerous. You know what I mean? Because they already I think they were reacting to the way the fans were giving a bit of stick out, and their performance all went down. And you could pick out certain players. One of them who hasn't been a great season, but I thought Johansson was very, very poor in the second half. He just gave the ball away all the time.
I thought he was poor in the first half as well.
Well, he wasn't great in the first half. Yeah. He was playing a central role he's not used to, right? But because he was fitting in for Brown. But as the game went on, he got worse and worse, and there was quite a few of them were in that position. Then they went down to 10 men, and I thought the second half was one of the worst performances I've seen from a team at home, without question. And that's why you say that doesn't reflect at all on how they've been playing in the league. They've been playing totally differently. So they need to get a grip in the league. They need to start playing a bit, or else, you know, they probably will go out of Europe now. You say, Peter, you haven't seen anything to suggest they won't, right? But supposing they got 2 shock wins, 2 great performances, which we won't expect, they're still there. The main thing is that what they need to do if they're going to get out the Europa League is the fact they have to actually keep maintain their home form. That's the only thing that'll keep Ronnie Dyler there. Because see if that drops as well, they'll certainly be looking for a new manager.
Here's the other element of it, Roughie, which I know, and I mentioned it there before I talked to you about the evidence that suggests that I don't think they're capable of those 2 results. The other aspect of this is quite simply the board. They will look at it and see empty seat after empty seat in that stadium, and they'll think, they will react, the board will react to the fans and the supporters when they look at it, and suddenly you can't give the tickets away. Suddenly you get to January and you're thinking, how can we make this entertaining? What would become entertaining for the Celtic fans, although nervy, is if Hearts and Aberdeen were on their tail and there was only a couple of points in it, suddenly they'd want to go to games because there's an edge to it. There's that point, Murdo. I mean, we're looking at Hearts here, 3 points the difference. The last time Hearts were in this position, you were playing football.
That's right, yeah.
You were playing for Celtic. And you know, and they were out in front, and there was games that Celtic had to
play catch up. Yeah,
had to play catch up. So that tells you how long ago it was, and now you're in a situation where the board will look and say, if we can't give tickets away, something's wrong.
The only bit I would agree with you, Peter, is the amount of money. If they don't get in the Champions League, that they lose. I mean, the Celtic board are very financial minded. There's no doubt about that. They have a structure of, right, we're not in the Champions League, let's sell somebody and recoup the 10 or the 15.
They're getting their money back.
I think that I said this to you during the week, I think we're now in the situation as if Celtic don't qualify for the Champions League, they don't have a 10 or a 15 million pound player to sell to compensate the 20 million. So that might be the reaction that might just push them over the edge, that we need to get in that Champions League.
Well, listen, there's a team and there's a certain group of fans who are happy tonight. They've got a win against Hamilton Accies. They're 3 points behind Celtic at the top of the Premiership. Craig Turnbull's been listening to the thoughts of Robbie Neilson and, of course, Martin Canning. If Craig Turnbull comes on this programme and said that Robbie Neilson was doing cartwheels, smiling and shouting at the top of his voice, we're in this title race, I will be gobsmacked, because he's never done it in the previous 52 weeks of after a win for Hearts. Was he very, very calm about it, Craig Turnbull?
Yeah, there was absolutely no chance of him talking up their title challenge, Peter. He was actually more keen to talk about the fact that they're looking to keep pace with Aberdeen and trying to stay in the top 6, never mind pushing Celtic all the way. I have to say he was pretty pleased with the way that Hearts handled the physical battle which Hamilton gave to them today. But he was also pleased with the way his team just kind of seen out the game. They were very comfortable and they didn't really look troubled at all.
If there was a star man, did he highlight anyone in particular?
Well, Arnold de Jong certainly came in for some praise. I think he's been really impressed with the way that he has adapted to Scottish football. He said he hadn't played since the start of May, so to come in and play the run of games which he has, he scored a goal against Celtic, he scored another today, and he was a top performer for Robin Nielsen.
Just last point, what was the crowd there today?
It was another healthy crowd, Peter, 16,121, and they all impeccably observed the minute's silence before the game as well. It was a really poignant moment.
Yep, of course, so many of the Hearts players gave their lives at the First World War as well, so they always try and put a floral tribute down, and of course the poppies as well, with the entire team down at Haymarket. It really is a tremendous sight. So Hearts get the win. I'm worried about the fitness of Craig Turnbull. He's a young man, but clearly going up those flights of stairs, Murdo, to the commentary position is hard going.
I'll need to put him on the bench next week, I think he's out of shape. He's huffing and puffing there.
Oh, absolutely.
And as you know,
and the worrying thing, Peter, there's only 12 stairs to get up there.
It's very difficult, Murdo, when you get up these stairs and eating a donut.
So there's certainly a lot more than 12 stairs, it has to be said.
Yeah.
That's some excuse, isn't it? Because we can't see it.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair to him, it is a long trek if you're not fit. Thanks very much to Craig Turnbull. Let's go to Fir Park and switch the attention to what I think Gordon Parks is about to tell us is an angry Mark McGee, Gordon?
A very calm, restrained Mark McGee, a Mark McGee that used the words "a poor display" to assess the performance of referee Craig Thompson, who, to be fair, I mean, this is a manager who has a grievance because Craig Thompson was poor today. So Mark didn't mince his words. He clarified that the penalty kick that Greg Tansey opened the scoring for Inverness was retaken because Craig Thompson felt encroachment happened inside the box. Somebody stepped inside the box, so Craig Thompson then asked Greg Tansey to take the kick again after he missed the initial one. Now, that was a massive decision, a massive call, and Mark McGee makes the point that how many times do you actually see the referee being as fussy as that and asking for a penalty kick to be retaken for something that happens on a week-to-week basis. So he had his grievance there. He also believes that it was harsh for Stephen McManus to get a red card in the last seconds. He believes, having watched the incident again, it wasn't worthy of it. So he assessed the performance negatively, but it was a restrained Mark McGee who kept his own counsel really when he could have been much harder.
Yeah, and in contrast to that, I presume, you mentioned all the statistics at the start of the programme with regards to Inverness on the road. John Hughes would be more than happy with all 3 points, considering what's been happening over the last few weeks.
Well, John Hughes allowed Brian Rice, his assistant, to come down and speak to the media after, and Brian was delighted. Of course, I mean, there's mounting injury problems. One of the questions that was put to him was obviously a great concern over Ryan Christie, who left the field with what appeared to be a severe knee injury. It's going to probably cost him his chance to play for Scotland under 21s next week. Brian Rice says that he is concerned, he feels for the player, and he believes that it's potentially a really concerning injury. Now, that was one of the main talking points, but again, a depleted Inverness who've got injury problems mounting up. Brian was delighted to make sure that at last they've managed to get a result on the road at a venue which in previous occasions has proved difficult for them.
Yeah, but I think thanks to Gordon Parks for that report there on both managers. Suddenly there's an injury to a player that has real worries for two teams in the league.
Yeah, absolutely, especially just the fact he's out on loan. Celtic don't require him at the moment, the boy, but they were giving him a chance to obviously keep playing at the Premier League. He's a very good player, and let's hope it is something that's not too serious.
Yep, Ryan Christie taken off. We'll have an update on that and no doubt reaction in midweek on STV at 6:30, the football show. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod are with me, Peter Martin. We've got reaction on the day when Hearts closed the gap at the top of the table to only 3 points. Ross County and Celtic will play tomorrow. In the Championship, Rangers comfortable winners by 4-0 against Alloa and over and above that we had Hibernian with a 4-1 win at St Mirren. So lots to talk about. Give us your view on a week in Scottish football, not without controversy. A major decision by HMRC from the courts, allowing them to actually pursue the money from the EBT scheme, whether there is any money left that they can pursue from the Old Co Rangers. But over and above that, it leaves many questions about the titles that Rangers won during the EBT years, money paid to players which should have had tax implications. A lot of fans have been on social media and of course starting to try and garner as much support as they possibly can to suggest that Rangers should be stripped of titles. That was our poll today. One of the polls: should Rangers be stripped of titles? And 69% answered that call to say yes, they should be stripped of titles. I know a number of players and managers are certainly not of the opinion that that should have any effect on the titles that Rangers won during those years. You can go on Twitter and of course on Facebook and give us your view at Peter and Roughie on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Roughie, and of course peterandroughie.com as well to give us your view on that. Also, Ronnie Deila has been in the spotlight. It was a poor result against Mulder, and over and above that, the poll we had was reflecting some of the displeasure at Celtic's performance against Mulder, and we asked the question: should Ronnie Deila be given the same amount of time as previous Celtic managers? And the poll itself, it's fairly close. 57% said yes. What's your reaction to that so far, Murdo? Still a bit of time to go.
To be fair, all the voters they've not got the choice now. It's going to go down to Peter Lawwell, but everyone's got their own opinion. No, there'll be people still likes the manager, they want him to stay. People will be looking more deeply into it, how they failed in European football. They'll be wanting them out the door. But we spoke about it earlier on, Peter. If Celtic, the board, they start looking, who do we want? Who can we get? Who would take the job?
Yes.
And it's a strange one. It's one of the biggest clubs in the world, or well-known clubs in the world, and yet you'll not attract all the big pay or salaried managers, because you'll not come back up to Scottish football, even though it's Celtic. If it's, I don't know what the wage is, £200,000, £300,000, you can go down to the Championship and get £1 million.
Yeah.
So that's why they're all hanging on to try and get a job down south.
And that again is the reality of the ambitions of the board. And I would counter it and give a bit of objectivity and fairness to this, Gordon Smith. The Celtic board is a well-run board. They've been very prudent. Their figures prove that. There's a difficult balancing act between the realities of what you can pay a manager and also the realities of what that manager will have as it is at his disposal, and the remit of what he's going to work under, because clearly a manager will have to work within a board and maybe a scouting system that brings in players that you have to coach.
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, that might have been the factor at his interview that got him the job. He was very willing to work with Celtic down those lines. The fact was that they said, here's the remit here. You have to try and achieve. You're going to be winning the league most times, almost every time, as we'd expect in Scotland. And you have to try and get us then European Champions League entry. You'll have playoff games to play because we're not automatically in there anymore. So that's one of your part of your remit. You've got to develop players in order we can sell them on, because if we don't get into that Champions League, as Roughie was saying earlier on, you have to sell players on. Van Dijk's been away, Wanyama in different years have been selling players on. So these are his remits. So it depends whether he falls into line with that. And it might have been even the case with Ronnie Deila to say, this is a big step up for you. You're coming from Norwegian football. This is into a major area of Europe, away from the Scandinavian countries. Maybe the salary as well was not the kind of money that certain people would have to be paid if they were looking for somebody like David Moyes or Paul Lambert or whatever, the kind of money they're used to. So it falls into that category as well, that he suited them in all aspects, and he obviously passed the test in terms of what he could do. And I think, I would make this point, see the statement he's been making this week, about his future seems he's secure and all that. You wonder if he's getting that from Peter Lawwell. Peter Lawwell's reassuring him and making him feel confident that no, you're okay, your position is pretty safe and all that thing. Because managers don't usually come out and speak as openly about that they feel they're okay.
Oh,
sometimes though it's the question that's asked to them. No, if Ronnie Dyler gets asked the question, do you feel safe in your job? Of course he's going to come out and say, yeah, I feel pretty safe.
Yeah.
No, he's just going to repeat that.
Maybe the question should have been, have you had assurances about your job?
Correct, yeah. Well, that's a different question. That's a proper question.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be the first time an owner's come out and backed the manager. I mean, I know it's a vote of no confidence, but I mean, it would nip it in the bud if he came out and said, look, whatever the manager's doing, we're happy with it, back off.
Yeah.
They generally wouldn't do that though.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you,
would.
Ruffy, it's a classic John Wayne movie, you know, when the Indian chief says, he says, white man speak with forked tongue. And I have to tell you, that's many a chairman up and down the country. You're absolutely right. They swing with the wind.
I think we can have this discussion after the game in Turkey.
Yes.
Or even after the game against Ajax at home. If they don't beat Ajax, they don't win that. Do you know what I mean? And I think then the serious questions will be asked.
Yes.
And I think decisions will be made then. Celtic then have got to come out and say, we're going to back the manager. Because just now, Alan, he's sitting, and if he wins 2 games in Europe, he qualifies.
Yes.
So he becomes a hero. And then domestically, things are going all right, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But come the next game against Ajax, if Celtic don't get all 3 points, then the board have got to come out and say he's still going to be the manager over the next year or so, 2 years.
Listen, we'll get the final details of the poll. Let's switch our attention to Ibrox. Derek Clark was listening to the Rangers manager Mark Warburton speak after a 4-0 win, and I have to say, lads, I don't think there'll be too much controversy in that press conference. 4 goals, 21 shots on target from Rangers, 21 shots, 14 on target, 7 off target, 9 corners, no saves for the goalkeeper, 70% possession. I guess he was fairly happy, Derek Clark.
He sure was. As I mentioned in my full-time report, it was one of the most one-sided matches you'll ever likely to see. Warburton was pleased with his side's performance. He says they worked hard on what was a heavy pitch. They showed great quality, but they just couldn't break down the defence at times in that second half, especially. Martin Waghorn could have had 5 or 6 in that second period, but he was pleased that Nicky Clark got the icing on the cake goal at the end there. He was asked also, quite interestingly, he was linked with the QPR job this morning, but he said he didn't know that until that was mentioned to him just there, and he says he's here for the long haul. So for Rangers supporters out there, that must be a pleasing note for them.
Yeah, star man on the day. It was a standout player for you, Derek.
Well, Waghorn got man of the match here, obviously for his 2 goals, 2 well-taken goals as well, it has to be said, but in all honesty, he could have had about 5 or 6, especially in the second half. 2 great goal line clearances and 2 saves from Andy McNeil, but he really should have burst the net with at least a couple of them. So Waghorn would have shaded it for me, and so much so his movement was terrific here this afternoon. Daniel Lennon jokingly said that even NASA couldn't even pick up his movement here this afternoon. He was that good, so he certainly was a standout here this afternoon.
1 win in 14, Daniel Lennon. I would imagine he's a manager who thinks, you know, this is a result you don't really expect anything from it.
Well, it certainly is, yeah. It's a game where you set anything as a bonus, really. He was full of praise for his players' effort. He says 4-0 looks bad, but he said they held Rangers for large spells, and it was unfortunate that Nicky Clark got that goal at the end, or they would have contained Rangers in that second period. With Eddie Ferns obviously sent off for a stamp on Jordan Thompson in the second period, he had no complaints about that at all, and he said he would have loved to have seen how it would have changed the game if Michael Chopra had scored that goal. Obviously, he'd hit the bar when the score was 2-0 to Rangers, through on goal. He smacked off the crossbar. He says he would have loved to have seen that one go in to see how that might have changed the game. But he was full of his praise for his players' efforts, and he hopes they keep that performance level up, because obviously they've got Falkirk next week and then Hibs the week after that. So it doesn't look like it's going to get any easier for Daniel Lennon at the bottom of the table.
Okay, thank you very much to Derek Clark, and of course, as ever, we hang on every word of our reporters out there. And Murdo, you were worried when Daniel Lennon highlighted that not even NASA could pick up the movement of Martin Waghorn. NASA's a left midfielder, actually. who plays for Alloy.
I hadn't heard of him before, so I wasn't sure what position he was.
He's good in the air.
Yeah, I'm sure. Gordon's happy with that. He's like Roughie. If he gets a good line, he's good in there. He's happy with that gag. Oh dear. Anyway, thanks to Derek Clark there at Ibrox. We'll have more reaction and we'll look in detail at Ross County Celtic and other matches to come this week after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. We've heard from our reporters at the key games across the country, reaction from the managers. Hearts now 3 points behind Celtic at the top of the table. Aberdeen just a point behind Hearts after their win against Dundee United at Pittodrie. Rooney and Hayes getting the goals for the Dons. That's how it looks in the Premiership. As far as the Championship, it is really hotting up there because Rangers, we thought they would be comfortable winners today. They were indeed comfortable winners, but so were Hibs. They were at New St Mirren Park and got a 4-1 win. There's the Championship table for you to have a look at. Rangers out in front, still with that 5-point advantage, but just tucked in behind Hibs. It's Falkirk, a little gap opening up between them and Wraith Rovers. Then Queen of the South, Morton. In fact, I don't think you can separate too many of them from Livingston, St Mirren, Dumbarton and Alloa. So it hasn't quite gone according to plan yet. The Alec Miller factor at St Mirren, that might take a few weeks, but up at the top, it really is hotting up. And again, over the festive period, it will be really, really interesting. And you just wonder whether it might come down to January transfer windows for those two teams.
Well, that's the thing. But again, you're looking at January, Peter, but there's going to be a transfer. It's just going to be a loan signing from down south. And it's who's got the best contacts. But looking at the way that they've recruited over the last year or so, or the last few months, Rangers, they've got enough contacts down there. Alan Stubbs has got good contacts. But I just think Hibs and Rangers will go for it for most of the season. I think both of them will go on a good run, because I think Hibs, St Mirren are generally one of the better sides in the league, albeit they're struggling a wee bit just now. But to go there and thump them 4-1 is a fantastic outcome for them.
If, with that in mind, do you believe that the games between Hibs and Rangers could be significant, or will Rangers just edge it in games where Hibs take their eye off the ball?
No, I don't. Hibs will not take their eye off the ball. Rangers will still get into all these games as favourites, so there's a wee bit more pressure on Rangers because they've got a wee bit of advantage. But Hibs players, when you're underdogs, it's fantastic when you get that opportunity. They got the opportunity last week and they took it. And they've closed the gap, Peter, and I think Hibs will still be there. Hibs have got to make sure, though, they can't take their eye off the ball. Sometimes they might think up, away from home, going down to Dumbarton, say, and thinking, that we're going to win this game. And then they lose some points. That's where Hibs have got to stop and make sure that they don't lose any points away from home. In silly games like that, they've got to make sure that they're a real challenge to Rangers and keep Rangers under pressure.
Actually, another plus of Hibs just now, the only two strikers last year, they've got three now. If one of them went off the boil, they'd nobody to back up. Now they've got Keaton scoring goals. So
Malonga and Cummings,
on that side, the strength is there this year that wasn't there last year.
And they did lose Scott Allen, obviously, who's a top class player, but they've made up for that. They made good signings, bringing in the loan players, and especially like some McGinn, who has really fitted in well, and he's doing well.
Let's see that match predictor, Roughie, to see if you've extended your advantage. It's so exciting right now. I've had not a bad day. I've had 11 points, Roughie. You have had 13. You've actually extended your advantage again, because you predicted Hearts, and you also got the St Johnstone Kilmarnock scoreline spot on. Your reaction to that now, is there a time where you want me to call it? You want me to just...
No, I'm just going to turn around and you'll see the smile on my face.
Yes, absolutely. And also, if I can at this moment, if I can highlight our treble, which means that all three of us will have a great wee night out. There it is. We predicted Hearts, Hibs and Aberdeen. I don't think it was that difficult, but nevertheless, we haven't had a good run since the start of the season. This is our first treble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
And I'm sure there will be people out there who have been following us and probably not stuck with us right to the end. So,
yes. We're not going to go out and have a slap-up meal on the money we've won from that treble. It's maybe a chippy with salt and sauce, to be perfectly honest with you, or if you're Gordon, salt and vinegar. You know why? But
I think it was about 4-1 treble. That was all it was, really.
Yeah. Is it worth
Not
maybe
great.
putting money on? Is it worth maybe looking at Ross County Celtic tomorrow?
Oh, maybe think about that one, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's have a look at the scores right across the country. If you're just coming in, the Scottish Premiership today, Aberdeen 2, Dundee United 0, Dundee 1, Partick Thistle 1, Hearts 2, Hamilton 0, Motherwell 1, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 3, St Johnstone 2, Kilmarnock 1. Ross County take on Celtic tomorrow. Let's have a look at can we look at the Premiership table just to give you a little insight into the gap now, because Hearts fans will certainly be looking at it and thinking, whoa, suddenly 3 points the difference. And I can tell you Aberdeen do indeed get back to winning ways, but the bottom end of it, Dundee United, it's only 3 points between themselves and Partick Thistle, Roughie. So Mixo Patalainen will say to the players, look, there are positives maybe to be taken from today's game. we're not out of it. We can still catch them. There's work to be done. There's progress to be made. There's a transfer window as well looming.
Yeah, and as a new manager, that's what you'll be saying. But he'll be looking at the games. You know, it looks as if it was a comfortable win for Aberdeen. It was comfortable for Hibs. He'll know he's got a lot of work to do there. He will believe, obviously. I don't think any of us expect Dundee United to be down there at the end of the season. But stranger things have happened. But again, with Partick Thistle, you know, at the end of the season, that's 2 points to throw away today. 2 points for Partick Thistle at the end of the season could be crucial for relegation or the playoff, and they really need to start gathering these points in.
Here's the Championship full-time scores today. Morton 1, Livingston 0, Queen of the South 1, Dumbarton 0, Wraith Rovers 1, Falkirk 2, Rangers 4, Alloa 0, and St Mirren 1, Hibernian 4. Here's the Championship table for you to look at. And I think while we're looking at the table, Murdo, we've got to pay tribute to Falkirk because they are in there. They are battling away. They're producing results.
Yeah, and they're just a very consistent side. But they're a good side to watch. They play good football. They're well organised. Peter's got them working really hard for them, and everybody's just got their eye on Rangers and Hibs, but Falkirk will be up there. And the big thing for Falkirk, they maybe know deep down that it's between Rangers and Hibs going to win the title, so they know they've just got to finish in the top 4, but there's 2 spots already taken. So you've got to keep a reasonable consistency throughout all season, because if you go in a wee slip towards the end and just miss out, then I think Falkirk would cause 1 or 2 problems. Yeah,
certainly in a playoff game. Playoff games have certainly come up with a few shocks down through the years. Let's look at League One, the full-time scores. Albion Rovers Cowdenbeath, that match was postponed earlier. Brecon City 1, Ayr United 1, Dunfermline 0, Peterhead 0, Forfar 2, Airdrie 3, and Stranraer 1, Stenhousemuir 2. Scottish League 2, let's have a look at the full times there. Certainly one shock that screams out at me. Elgin City 3 and Athletic 2. I think a number of clubs will be happy with that scoreline in case Jim Chapman's team were going to run away with it. Arbroath 1, East Fife 1, Berwick Rangers 1, Stirling Albion 2. Clyde 3, Montrose 1, and East Stirling 2, Queen's Park 1, which will be a disappointment for Gus McPherson's team. That was an opportunity to try and maybe make up some points on Annan Athletic, but they weren't able to do that. Okay, so it's been an interesting afternoon, certainly a good day for James Keatings. He'll be taking the match ball home with him after a hat-trick for Hibernian. There was no problems for Rangers against the 10 men of Alloa eventually, 4-0. Even with 11, they were in complete control. So let's look to get the Barclays Premier League, and you'll see from the Barclays Premier League, Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 1, Leicester 2, Watford 1, Manchester United 2, West Brom 0, Norwich 1, Swansea 0, Sunderland 0, Southampton 1, and West Ham 1, Everton 1. And I would suggest to you right now, Leicester fans will be as high as a kite, because Leicester with Manchester City and Arsenal, Murdo, are joint top of the Premier League in England.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. You know, aside, as we spoke about earlier on, Peter, you know, losing the manager, you know, and the manager had a lot of good results, and you're thinking Leicester, they just keep on chipping away, but to be sitting up there in 3rd spot, just fantastic. Ranieri, just a great manager, great man manager, because that's what it's all about now, being a good man manager, and to be sitting up at the top there with Man City and Arsenal above you and Man United sitting below you. Fantastic, going in towards Christmas. What a Christmas present for all the Leicester fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
And good win as well for Alec Neil today at Norwich, Peter. You know, they've been slipping back. They've been dropping down the league and they're down in the relegation zone, but that's a good win. Doesn't take them much up the league, to be fair, but it puts them in a position to challenge the mid-table teams. Yep, good for Leicester. The only way is down. The final point for you three guys. Okay, give me a scoreline for tomorrow, and if he doesn't get the victory, does that heap more pressure on the Celtic manager? Oh, without a doubt. After it, as I said, the big thing about the Celtic manager just now, his position, European football, it's been a failure for him. Domestically, it's been good for him.
So the board have got to look at it. But if he loses tomorrow, then that's domestic, and then it's a struggle for him then, because Hearts are sitting 3 points behind them. Aberdeen's closed the gap as well, so it puts him under more pressure. And I just think if he can get away with good performances domestically, Peter, that can keep him going. But European football could be a downfall for him.
Briefly, what's your verdict on tomorrow?
I think Celtic are without a few players, but I think they'll win 2-1.
Yeah, if they're good enough to beat Aberdeen and Hearts, I think they should be good enough to beat Ross County.
Okay, wise words from the three wise men. Whether it actually transpires that they are indeed wise by tomorrow, only time will tell. But you can join us on Monday as we'll look back over the weekend's football, and we'll chat to Ian Murray, who'll be joining us as our boot room guest on Monday night's programme to give us St Mirren's progress and what he thinks will happen with Alec Miller as the assistant. Great to have Murdo with us on the programme. Absolute joy for Murdo to sample a really big audience and people who know what they're talking about. And also, on that point, there's no chance he can reply because we're running out of time. Thanks to Roughie and Gordon Smith as well. Thanks for watching. Good night.